Good evening, everybody. Give me half a second because I want to go play something brand new and super cool for you guys. This was made by Soundwaves Photon. This is going to be the intro to my show in addition. Let's go check this out real quick.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message. I love you.
And now, coming to you from the classiest radio station on the air, this is
Minnow Town Hall.
All right, everybody. So, welcome to the Minnow Town Hall. I am your host, Agrode. I am currently witness number 7 on the Steem blockchain. I'm coming to you live from what's apparently known as the doghouse. You can see my mug and what I'm doing up here if you're checking the live stream footage, which you can view at msp-waves.com. I have a couple things that are worth noting. I'm going to have Tim Cliff on the show. We're going to start there. I see Renee is in the audience. Renee runs World 5 List. His cohort Angelo, who runs They Will Kill You, collectively have 1.8 million subscribers on YouTube, and they are actively working to go bring their followers over the Steem blockchain. So I'm very excited to talk to them. I got a couple people from the Unfuckers group. Danny Arnold leads a group of several thousand people. I just brought on board maybe 30 of them within the last 2 days. So she came on and she started bringing a very active community with her. So I'm excited to go interview some of these people to go figure out what are they about, why are they here, why might this be a good fit, why should Steem care, why do they care about Steem, and go from there. I'm going to bring Tim on in just a second, but I do want to give a quick update. The last time that we had a Minnow Town Hall, we talked about something called the GEET engine, G-E-E-T. And it is a engine that is we were looking at a generator today. Jeremy had a 6,500 max watt generator, some old Chicago generator. And he was running it on a mixture of water and gasoline. So that can actually happen with some generators. That's not the world's weirdest thing. But one of the things that we saw was that he had a metal rod that was, roughly no bigger than that key, and it was inside of a small reactor, which was nothing more than a metal pipe that was bigger than the rod. And he was passing the gases over this thing, and it definitely got ionized and magnetized, and was not prior to having done that. So there seems to be some evidence that the reaction itself was not only combustion that was taking place, but was actually ionizing on the rod, and it had some additional weird properties. So as of right now, it seems like there's lots of evidence that this thing was doing something good somewhere along the lines of what was promised. And we're going to go look forward to an even bigger demonstration, because I'm going to hook up a generator to my house, and that's going to be sort of over the next couple of weeks. We're going to work on that. So the Minnow Town Hall is going to get involved in some witness politics. We're going to get involved in growing the blockchain. We're going to get involved in some potential free energy, because if this GEET engine thing works like it's supposed to, it can actually burn water. So it'll ionize water into hydrogen. It'll burn the hydrogen. And normally you're not supposed to be able to do that without putting more energy in than you take out. But this reactor seems to be working, and we'll get more evidence of that as time goes on. So I'll be working with Jeremy, and we're going to see, does the GEET engine work? And if it does work, do I get swept up by some men in black or something as we try to figure out a different energy system? I'm not sure that that's going to be well received by the powers that be. Rondon, can you confirm that Tim Cliff is actually set up right now for coming on live to the show? Is he sound checked and ready? I don't know how big the delay is now that we're doing image. So just looking to confirm that Tim Cliff is in the clear. All right, we got Tim Cliff ready. So I'm going to give a quick intro to Tim Cliff, which also gives him a moment to go hop on and make sure that he's ready. But Tim Cliff is typically somewhere between witness number 1 and witness number 4. He's constantly in help, like a Steam chat help area, and he is helping new users get their passwords recovered, figure out how Steam works, just any kind of question that you might ask of like customer support. Tim is one of the people that is front and center there. Not only that, but Tim has actually worked on a number of different projects where he was soliciting feedback from the rest of the Steam community and then implementing those ideas to go help make Steam better. I know personally he has had a giant impact on me. I very much think of Tim as my mentor. So I'm so excited to have him on the show. He and I have spoken a couple times, but we've never done this just the two of us live on air. So I'm also excited about that. So without further ado, I'm very excited to go bring Tim Cliff onto the show. And let's just check this out. Tim, are you there?
Hey, Growth.
Hey, it's wonderful to have you here. I hope you heard that whole intro and I didn't pull you out too soon, but I'm grateful for you being here. I'm grateful for your assistance as a mentor to go help guide me in some of my thoughts and really do a good job of steering not only me, but I really feel like you are a very strong voice amongst the witnesses, that we all sort of look to you as a very bright leader, a very bright mind, good on the social side, good on the developer side, and a wonderful addition to the Steam ecosystem. So thank you for your work. Thank you for all that you do here. And it is an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Agrod. It's a pleasure to be here. And actually, I have a lot of similar things to say about you. I know the work that you do here for the Minnow support project is really beneficial for the new members. Probably one of the biggest hurdles that we still have as a community to overcome is the getting used to the new platform for new users. And when I first joined, that was pretty difficult for people. I think everyone was kind of thrown into the deep end of the pool, and with the combination of some of the changes that I've done, as well as this community that you formed here to help new users get familiar with the platform, is really helping out a lot.
Yeah, I'm bringing my cousin on board. I sent him an Unsteam brand new user earlier today. We just onboarded 30 people that are part of the group Unfuckers. I'm seeing that there is actually a fair amount of challenge to getting new people on board. I don't think we're ever going to get away from that. You know, Steam, SBD, Steam Power, voting pools, whales, minnows, post rewards. Yeah, there's just like, if I really sit here and think about it, I could go create 30 vocabulary words that would be entirely gibberish to anybody outside of this community. And so I don't know if we're ever going to fix that in terms of like onboarding, but I certainly know that your work in the Steam at Help or Steam at Chat help area and the work of the Minnow Support Project, it's a big deal. I think that we really do help. We help onboard new users, and that is one of the main parts of the Minnow Support Project, which is to spread the values of peace, abundance, and liberty, to grow the Steam platform, and to help train and retain minnows on that platform or new members.
I totally agree.
So you and I set this meeting up almost 3 or 4 weeks ago. So there weren't any hot button issues or nothing more than the usual of trending. Is that a fair thing? Our post rewards going to the right people in the right groups, and the sort of standard arguments around trending and post rewards and things. Some of the other hot button issues weren't here. So I'm just trying to give context to the audience of this isn't like Tim and I said, oh, we have to host some emergency meeting or anything. This is just like 3 weeks ago, Tim and I said, you know what, it's time for Tim to get on the show. It's time for us to talk. And I didn't know exactly where this would go, but
yeah, and you and I have actually been talking about this, I think, for quite longer than 3 weeks too. We always were saying, yeah, we should do a show one of these days. And so finally I was just thinking, we really need to make this happen.
Yeah, just set a date and go for it. So
exactly.
That's how this happened. There's no pressing anything. It's just, here's an opportunity for the minnows to get to meet Tim, and hopefully people can hear Tim and I and how we sort of think through what are key aspects of this program that we think are really important of this community. What do we need to be doing to build a really strong community that will service and grow this platform? And so hopefully people hearing that from both of us and how we sort of talk about this place will help inform you the decisions that you make. And just hearing us, maybe you'll find some new information or some new way to think about things, and hopefully that's helpful. So that's to the audience. Is there a place that you wanted to start? I mean, I could dig in and just start dropping questions. I don't know if there's a message or a topic that's important to you that you want to get to and ensure we get to.
Well, I think the Steam dollars discussion is on a lot of people's minds, and you'd mentioned that. So why don't we start there?
All right. Would you like me to sort of set this up? Would you like to? I'm going to keep deferring to you, Tim. Not only because you're my mentor, but in large part, I really do think it matters witness rank, and I don't know if that is. I don't know if this is just like. I keep thinking of this in the tenure track stuff that I did of like, if you're in the top 20, you're not that your job is secure at all, but that's sort of like being in a tenured spot. Just in terms of like the authority that you have. And being in the top 5 is sort of like you are the distinguished professor, which is a very important role in academia. So that's how I sort of think of my top 5 guys, which I am not there yet. So as long as you're here, I'm going to keep
Yeah,
referring
it's a
somewhat to
pretty
you.
elite club. I actually feel quite honored to be surrounded with the people that are in that with me as well as the entire Top Witness community.
Yeah, they're very smart people. I mean, I don't always agree with them, but there's yet to be anybody that I've interacted in the top 20 witnesses where I'm like, that dude's an idiot. Like, I definitely I understand where their points are coming from. I might argue very different things, but, I can be sort of a judgmental ass. And I think that's part of my graduate school experience. The chemistry is not a nice world. That is a very condescending place. So I am inclined to go condescend towards people, and I feel none of that working with the other witnesses. I'm actually usually astounded by how bright people are, how sharp people are. I've been particularly impressed by Smooth, if I'm being completely transparent. That guy is sharp.
Yeah, same here. Actually, you mentioned you kind of consider me your mentor. I actually consider Smooth my mentor. When I first joined the platform, uh, the same as most of the new witnesses, below the top 50, trying to get recognition. And a lot of my conversations with Smooth over the 6 months to a year that I was learning to become a witness is really where I got a lot of my knowledge about how the platform worked.
And it's not easy. I mean, here's the other thing: is that sometimes I'll watch brand new witnesses or young witnesses or early witnesses start doing things like it's just this simple, or just be like really dismissive of the level of complexity. Like, if you don't see my point of view, you must be an idiot because it is so obvious that I'm right. I've seen a couple attitudes like that, and just having been here for a long time, both for Steem, I'm account number 54,000. I'm one of like the first 10% of accounts. It's actually even I'm probably like one of the first 7% of accounts on the platform. I've been here a while. I've been a witness for a while, and I've been a top witness for a while, and every day there's like more complexity to this thing. I feel like you could get not only a PhD in blockchain technology, but literally a PhD just in Steem because of how complicated. Not the interface. The interface is post and or write and post, and hopefully you earn, and that's not too bad. But the math questions underneath this are remarkably complex. Not just because the code is hard, but because this whole thing seems like a ecosystem of unintended consequences. And the second you shift one variable, it really changes lots of others. So much of this stuff is correlated to one another that it's hard to make any single change without impacting lots of other stuff around here.
Yeah, definitely. And it's an interesting aspect of being a witness. You mentioned kind of the tagline of it's so easy. And in a way, being a witness is actually fairly simple for someone with a reasonable technical background. You can follow a lot of the instruction guides that are out there. Some guy even has the basically pre-made Docker configurations where you pretty much just run it out of the box. So to actually officially become a witness is a relatively simple thing to do, but there's so much complexity to the job. You kind of need a background in a whole bunch of different things. There's obviously the technical side. There's system administration, making sure your server is running properly. There's definitely an economic side of it due to the voting and rewards. I think it's important for the witnesses to understand the economy and how various changes that are being proposed can have an impact on that. You have to have a political aspect to it as well, getting votes, making people aware that what you're doing is benefiting them and the platform. Obviously, a social aspect to it. You want to be available to people, and the type of person that someone can come to if they have problems with the platform, and quite a few more. So when you look at the surface, it seems like it's a relatively easy job, but to actually do it well and to do it correctly, there's a whole bunch of different aspects to it that you need to be good at all of them.
And some of that is politics, and some of that is diplomacy. And maybe those two things are the same, but um, I really feel like we don't all necessarily have to agree, but trying to disagree politely, thoughtfully, respectfully is it's really important to me. And I feel like this group, for the most part, does that really, really well. There are some witnesses that can get a little spicy. I try not to be one of them, and it's really not that bad. I mean, I think for the most part, um, I I think people make decisions based off of what is best for them, what is best for their community or their circle, and then what is best for the platform. And it's not necessarily always in that order, but I do think that it's what I think of it as three concentric circles. What is it for the first circle? What is it the second when you expand it out to your personal social network? And then what's best for everybody? And I do think that what people value within that is a little different amongst every single witness. But I can't look at anybody in this group and say, "Wow, you don't care about the platform at all. You're just a selfish bastard, and that's what you're doing." I I, I don't see that. I see smart, caring, passionate people, and we are smart, caring, passionate people that sometimes are butting heads on opinions. But there's nobody that I'd look at and say you don't have the best interest of the platform in mind.
I completely agree, and I try to keep the same thing in mind when I'm having conversations with people. Is I disagree very strongly with a lot of people on a lot of different subjects, and interestingly, some of the people I disagree with on one subject are the same people that are fighting with me for a cause on a different. So it's not always an individual, for or against type thing, but I think one of the things, as you said, is just keeping in mind that where everyone seems to be coming from is that we're all trying to advance the platform and make it better. And there's just very differing viewpoints on how to actually get there and what the best approach is. And that's basically where I see most of the disagreements. So if you keep that in mind, then that diplomacy thing kind of comes naturally, even if you happen to disagree with what someone is pushing for or, their particular agenda. If you take a step back and realize that they're just trying to make the platform better too. They have a different view on how to get there, but you can't get too upset at someone who's just trying to do the best they can to make everything better for all of us.
So I feel like that's a pretty good intro to go talk about a complicated and challenging topic of which people get really heated because it feels like this is a discussion that is going to directly impact how rewards work and that distribution of rewards. And so this can get very heated. And you and I don't actually seem to see perfectly eye to eye on this. I think that we disagree a little bit, but there's what the thing that's in question right now. Already on the platform, you can go take SBD, one SBD, and convert it into $1 worth of Steem. And right now, that makes no sense. There's zero reason to do that. You are better off going to the market and selling it for $7. The current price, 7.10. So what you would want to do is take your Steem dollars, bring it to the market, sell it for $7.10, and that would be the most economical thing you can do if you're looking to raise cash. But if you wanted, and this is more of what to do in a bear market rather than a bull market, where if SBD goes underneath $1, and it does do that at times, and in some ways this platform is designed to make that happen. If it's underneath $1, say it's 90 cents, well, you might look at that and say, you know what, I'd rather have $1 than 90 cents, so I'm going to go use this platform. And part of the feature is I can turn my SBD into Steem, where one Steem dollar will give me $1 worth of Steem, and that's backed by the blockchain. You can do that so long as the market cap isn't above 10%. So if you have $10 billion market cap and there's 1 billion Steem backed dollars, then you will get 1 for 1. If for whatever reason you get up to, if it's a $10 billion platform and there's $2 billion of SBDs, it doesn't actually stay pegged anymore. Your SBD would only get you 50 cents worth of Steem. And that, some of this is getting weird, or it might be hard to conceptualize or see this in your head, but there is a conversion where I can take SBDs and convert that to Steem, and that currently exists right now. You could, but you should not do that. And what is under review, what the proposal is to go take, kind of do what some people are calling the reverse conversion. It's probably just better to call it the Steem to SBD conversion, where I could take $1 worth of Steem and turn that into an SBD, and that's what's under review. Did I describe that accurately, Tim?
Yes, you did. So if you want, I can kind of take what you were saying there and build on it a little bit to give a slightly additional picture.
Please do.
Is I think everybody, myself included right now, is very happy with the price of both Steem and Steem dollars. And anyone who makes a post, and let's just say you get a $10 post where 5 of that is paid in Steem power, and then you get 5 Steem backed dollars. When you can cash those 5 Steem backed dollars out for $35 and basically walk away with $40 of rewards on a post that was worth $10, I don't think there's anyone who's going to say that they don't want that. I occasionally blog myself, and obviously, to get even more money for my blogs is pretty awesome. And for those new members who are looking to grow their stake in the community, they can basically take $35 worth of Steem dollars and buy more Steem with it, as opposed to $5 worth of Steem dollars to buy more Steem. So they're increasing their stake in the platform at a much higher rate. So there's definitely a lot of benefit to the high Steem dollar prices right now. And I think what myself and some of the other witnesses are trying to do is look at it from a long-term perspective of what's going to be the best for the platform as we go, a year in the future, 5 years in the future, and 10 years in the future. And there's definitely a division there. And you and I have had a lot of conversations, and I think off the air we kind of know where each other stands, but I'm not completely dead set on one way or the other. I'd be fine leaving Steem dollars to float away and keep going up. I think there is definitely a lot of value in the platform to allow that to happen. But at the same time, there's some drawbacks to that. And there's possibly some benefits to not allowing it. And I think all those trade-offs need to be evaluated and looked at from the big picture as far as what's the best thing for the ecosystem long term.
So
and
give me what you think the number one benefit of doing this would be, and give me what you think the number one, pros and cons. What's the number one pro? What's the number one con? And maybe even what's the number one risk? Because the risk and the con may or may not be the same thing.
Sure. So I think the con is probably the easiest to identify. The biggest con to that is going to be if the Steam dollars go down from $7 to $1. That's obviously going to have an impact on everybody's rewards, and everybody making less money on posts is probably not a good thing. As I said, I think all of us do appreciate the fact that the rewards are higher right now. Um, the biggest benefit, which is pretty hard to explain in a 30-second soundbite, is that I think there's a lot of potential value for having a stable Steam dollar currency that could benefit the Steam ecosystem in ways that we don't have currently. One of those is basically at having Steam dollars being used for a marketplace where people can basically buy goods and services. And then the other, which gets into some complicated mechanics, is a way that a stable Steam dollar peg actually could influence the Steam price in a positive way. And maybe we can get into that detail in a little bit. Like I said, it's more than a 30-second soundbite. As far as the risk, I would say that the biggest risk would be that right now there's a pretty high demand for Steam dollars. Obviously, every day there's a lot more generated, and even with additional Steam dollars being put into the marketplace, there's sufficient demand to keep buying those up and hold the price where it is. So there's obviously a high demand for Steam dollars as a speculative token. And where I would see the risk is that we don't know for sure whether or not there's a, as much or more demand for a stable token. And so there's the possibility that if we switch Steam dollars from being a speculative asset where someone can buy it and potentially make money into a stable asset where you won't necessarily make Steam dollars, you won't get rich off them, but at the same time, they're a token where you're not too worried about losing your value. Will the market have enough demand for those tokens where they'll be able to continue holding the price of Steam dollars at or above $1? And we don't really know that for sure. And so I think that would be the biggest risk.
Okay. Do you mind if I take a turn on the opposite?
Yep, go for it.
So I think the biggest pro to doing the conversion is, like you said, there's some very large economic opportunities that come with that. That if we have the power to be a stable internet currency, then I think that there's massive potential for growth. There could be $1.6 billion. Actually, it's even more of SBD to go supplement Tether. Tether might be having issues, so if we could replace that, that could make us grow quite substantially. Um, so down the road, just so everybody knows, I'm very bullish on helping this conversion and making sure that there's enough SBD so that we can have this sizable impact. Because at one point it's going to go from the blogging aspect is the biggest aspect of this platform, which I'd argue it is now, and eventually it will be using Steem as a currency everywhere. And then when it's everywhere, I think that'll be a bigger opportunity for the Steam platform than the blogging. Not to say that blogging will go away, it just won't be as substantial or as important as the amount of SBD and the transactions and the commerce that happens in that. So despite being against the conversion now, I'm long term thinking that could actually play a really wonderful role for this community. Um, in the meantime, I tend to think that I think that price is impacting how much authoring and activity we have going on. And it might be price of Steem, it might be price of SBD, it might be price of the market. All of these things are correlated. I happen to think that when I look at my post rewards, 88% of them or so are from SBD. So I can at least say from my own reasoning that one of the major draws to author right now is a high SBD. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I think that there are lots of people that are coming to this platform and authoring on this platform and engaging on this platform because those rewards are high. And very, very specifically, a con of this is that the reverse conversion would have a time frame of something like 4 days. And if I have the ability to turn $1 worth of Steem into an SBD that's worth seven, then everybody and their mother is going to go overnight decide, hey, we are going to take Steem and convert it to SBD because we can take something worth one and make it worth seven. And of course, it won't quite be worth seven because we're going to inflate that supply so much. Um, but it's that process that is going to create a lot of SBD, um, which I do think is going to expose us to some risk for debt. But it's also going to, in very, very short order. I would estimate 4 to 6 days. It might only be four, maybe it's longer, but I think it's a very short order.
Yeah, and
We would.
actually, there's an argument to be made that it would be even sooner than that. It could be a matter of hours from the time that we announce the plans to move forward with that change. And the reason for that is because the people that are speculating on the token that are buying it at $7, if they know based on public market knowledge that the price is going to be falling in the near future, they're probably not going to be buying it at 7, and the demand will probably drop out from under it. It would probably, there's a fairly high chance that if we were to move forward with that change, that the moment we announce the change, that the Steem dollar token would probably fall back to the peg just based on speculation alone.
So I think if that happens, it is going to kill our immediate growth that we're experiencing. Some of that growth I'm going to reference as like, it's hard to know when new accounts are added, if they're people, if they're bots, if it's scammers or whatever, but we do a lot of vetting in the Minnow Support Project to add new people. And from the middle of December to the middle of January, we literally doubled size. So it took us 7 or 8 months to get to 4,500 people. We're now over 10,000. And that 4,500 people happened over that same period of time when there was a spike in SBDs. There was also a spike in Steem, and those two prices are correlated. So it is hard to say exactly that it's SBD that's driving that. But again, when I look at my post rewards and I see that 88% of the value is coming from SBD, that's to me roughly 88% of the reason why I ought to be doing more on this platform. So I think if we tank that, that is going to stop the growth that we have, which is extraordinary. And I think that that growth is very, very influential in the overall price of Steem. Um, there's something called Metcalfe's Law. Metcalfe's Law was used for the telephone. It was used for fax machines. It's used for Facebook. Any of these kind of telecommunication systems, whereby if you, a good way to look at this is that if you double the number of users on the platform, you can quadruple the price. And
So, can I jump in?
sure.
I, I think at a very high level, I agree with you on principle, which is that the more we have for rewards, the more attractive the platform is going to be for new users. And I definitely think that the high rewards are a contributing factor to the amount of new users that are here. But I probably personally wouldn't go as far as saying as the Steem dollars are the primary driver. I think there's a whole lot of things that are going on right now um, with the platform that are all contributing to growth. And while I think we can both agree that if we were to theoretically drop the price of Steem dollars from where it is today back to $1 in the short term, that probably would have an impact. But I think to go as far as saying that that's going to kill growth or that's the only reason for growth, and if we get rid of it, then we're basically screwed. I probably wouldn't take it that far. I think
No,
there's
that
quite a
I
few
agree.
other.
I agree
I
with that.
think sure.
The difference would be if it goes down to $1, we would cut the current U.S. dollars of payout by 1/4. Um, and the what I mean by kill the growth is that we've had a certain growth rate since September that has been relatively consistent. And I'm again looking at Minnow support numbers, and I like the Minnow support numbers because they're vetted against scammers, fake accounts, and these are people. We've done our best to isolate people. We have teams of people that look into this. Um, so I'm looking at the growth rate of real people entering the platform. And I don't mean to say that growth will actually end. And if I'm implying that, then I apologize. It's not actually what I mean. What I mean is that the new growth rate that we have now, because either Steem or SBD or the overall market cap is high, um, would go down back to what it was at these September levels. So it's been my intention to sort of pull out how big of a difference is that. Um, my tentative numbers is that we are growing 3 times faster now than we were before. So I think our post rewards would go down by a fourth, and our growth rate would go down by a third in the short term. In the long term, if this worked and it brings the benefits of really being able to be a commerce system, then it would actually grow substantially. Because if we're in commerce everywhere, that is way more important than just a couple extra bucks blogging, because we make up for it in the Steam price. But
Yep, exactly. And I think that's where a lot of us are looking at it, and it's very speculative. I mean, you and I can both kind of come up with theories, and we're probably both right and both wrong. And so that's what really makes it difficult, is coming up with the right decision. And I I sympathize with the idea that if we were to all of a sudden do this right away, it would probably not be a good thing for mainly the reasons that you brought up. But just as far as the math from it, so if you take that $10 post, and right now a user's making $40 from it, so basically it shows $10, but at the end they're actually getting about $40 worth of tokens. A four times increase in the price of Steem would accomplish that same thing.
totally agree.
So I think, and there's a confusion aspect to it as well, which is, as I think everyone here can empathize with this, is that the platform is difficult to understand for new users, and when you're trying to explain the concept of Steam dollars right now, it's a pretty difficult one to explain to people. I don't think there's very many people that are upset about it, because they think they're getting $10, they end up with 40. Hard to complain about that. But at the same time, that whole "why do we have these two tokens" question is a pretty difficult one to explain in the current situation.
Yeah, having a debt back node is actually pretty important. My question to go help people that are having difficulty with that question is, if you could have a dollar bill in your hand that you could exchange for gold, or you could have a dollar bill in your hand that you can exchange for no tangible asset, like at a bank. You used to have money back in the 1970s where it was a gold backed dollar, and I could go take my dollar and I could bring it to a bank, and I'd say, "Excuse me, sir, miss, will you please exchange this for gold?" And they would give me a certain amount of gold for that. If I try that same thing now and I say, "Here's this dollar bill, please give this back to me, or please give me gold," they'll all just look at me funny, because we don't do that anymore. We now have a currency type in the United States that is a fiat currency. It is not backed by physical commodities anymore. It is de facto backed by like petroleum. It is de facto backed by the U.S. military, and by the size of our economy. But it is no longer backed directly by a bank with any kind of property. It is a fiat dollar. Whereas the Steam-backed dollar, if I bring it not to a bank teller but to the Steem blockchain, and I say, "Excuse me, program, I would no longer like my SBD. I would actually prefer to have Steem. Will you please provide me with that?" It is a debt note redeemable in Steem. It is an asset-backed currency. So to me, very much, it's a gold-backed dollar, except for instead of gold, it's Steem. And whereas the price of gold is relatively steady, the price of Steem is pretty highly fluctuating. But it is a currency that is a asset-backed currency, and I think that has a lot of really wonderful financial implications. I'm one of the only people in the group of witnesses that looks at people purchasing SBDs. Almost all of them say, "Hey, Agro, this is just a pump. It is a pump and dump that happens to last longer than what we normally see or often see for pumps and dumps, where it's a couple hours or a day or two. This is now going on for more than a month," which may not be totally an outlier yet. But to me, I'm wondering if I don't trade in Korea, so I wonder if there are conditions in the Korean market that make it so that a SBD is on a spectrum of risk versus reward, such that an asset-backed dollar in that market is actually worth 7. In the United States, we'd kind of laugh at that and say, well, there's other things that we could have used that are better. But I don't know the Korean market well enough to say explicitly, no, this is just a pump and dump, or yes, it is just on the profile of risk versus reward, and it's sitting at $7 because that's the market value there.
Yeah, so I don't think that there's very many people even in Korea that are looking at the $1 worth of Steem aspect of it right now and seeing that as the reason that they're purchasing the token. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the Korean community here, but ClayApp is actually very heavily involved there. And I think next to the English speaking community, the Korean community is definitely our second largest.
Yep.
And I feel like a large reason why we're seeing a pump in both the Steem price and the SBD price is because in that country there's such a huge love for Steem. There's
Yep.
a ton of people over there that love the platform and they think the token is awesome. And I do think that the small amount of Steem dollars makes the token easy to inflate. I don't know the motivation behind why they're doing that, but I don't think that the reason that they're doing it, and it's speculation on my part, but I'm pretty sure they're not doing it because they see the value in that dollar worth of Steem. If that was the reason, I feel like they would probably be buying Steem.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily the dollar worth of Steem. I think having a currency that's backed by something might actually have value. Again, it's hard to say. It's like, yes, it is partially speculative. Yes, it is speculation, but it has a floor value. I mean, I think there's a lot of good things that come with that. Um, but I might be wrong because I'm like one of only maybe one. I might be the only lone witness that thinks that. So I might be the outlier there. Um, I guess my last one, the risk that I see is that if two things are coupled together and they fluctuate together, and then suddenly you hold one constant, but the otherwise market conditions aren't changing, what we're going to end up doing is having a very stable SBD, but my fear and what I think happens from looking at equilibrium and chemistry of how these things actually play out. If I hold one of my concentrations very constant, then by default the other one is going to swing much more wildly. And so one of my
Yeah, and
chief concerns is that you'll get super high prices and super low prices for Steem, uh, maybe even to the point where we are crashing our Steem price during a bear market to maintain a dollar peg that won't even be maintained because as Steem market cap goes down, our debt load will get above 10%, and the Steem backed dollar won't even be worth the face value that we promise anymore.
yeah, and actually, I wrote an article about that probably almost a year ago now. Something to do with Steam dollars and a roller coaster. Um, so the math behind what you're saying actually adds up in the sense that when you have the peg, if the price of Steam is going up, then the Steam dollars actually help to make the Steam price go up at a faster rate.
Yep.
And if the price of Steam starts going down to the point where people start to lose faith in it, then the Steam dollar mechanism can actually speed up the process in the other direction.
Yep.
So that's definitely there. And if you start getting into that aspect of it, then you're almost heading down the path of questioning whether or not we want to have Steam dollars at all. Because you're absolutely correct that when times are good, having Steam dollars makes them better, and when times are bad, having Steam dollars makes them worse. And
Well,
so
that's not. Hold on. That's not an aspect of having Steam dollars. That is an aspect of having rigidly pegged Steam dollars.
you're correct. I'm sorry. I did mean to say having a pegged Steam dollar.
Um,
So Getting into another thing, I know you said kind of the last thing, and I don't think we either one of us want to spend the whole show on Steam dollars, but we've talked about two of the sides. One of them is kind of let them do what they're doing now. The other being let's try to get the peg back to where it is. There is a third side, which is a little underrepresented right now. And so I just want to bring it up so that the listeners have a picture of all the different arguments. Is there is the argument of actually getting rid of the Steam dollars and just having the Steam token by itself. And the reason behind that, I'm presenting the argument. I don't necessarily uh, subscribe to it myself, but is that if basically we're going to have this speculative token that is going up and down, and we want people to be buying more of it, then having one token, just Steem and Steem Power, as opposed to two tokens with the Steem dollars, does take away some of the complexity in the system.
Yeah, I mean, I know that this is not what the intention was, and so as a consequence, I'm going to move away from the white paper, which I think makes me a bit of a Steam atheist as opposed to a Steam white paperist. Um, but I see these two tokens working really well in tandem, where Steem is sort of an investor class token, and Steamback dollars is sort of a active poster based token, and by representing both the investors and the active users, I think that dual mechanism is helping us grow substantially. And I actually there's a fourth option here too, which is do a full conversion, leave SBD the way they are, eliminate SBD, and to me, the sort of most middle of the road of all of these is why don't we just use the tools we have or slightly improve them or increase them to get us moving towards that $1 peg faster? I mean, we're printing SBD now. We print 100,000 SBD a day. We are pushing through that printing, pushing to get that back down to one. If we increase the amount of SBD that we print, um, then that should
So
bring us down
I,
faster.
I know there's a lot of proposals on the table for that, and I'm not really against any of them, but in my mind, it's not going to solve the problem. And the reason is because if Steam dollars start to be used as a more significant stable token in the market, similar to Tether, if someone wants to buy 5 million or $50 million worth of Steam dollars, there's no way for the blockchain to satisfy that demand, and it's going to shoot the price up. And
There,
so
there's
if we
no
get
way yet. I mean, over time, by us printing more and more of these, and we sort of grow it naturally and in line with the growth of the Steam market cap, and if we increase the speed of SBD production, we'll get there. Like billions is not in the cards for tomorrow, but it's not, 10 years out for us.
Well, so the Steam dollars most likely is always going to be at a pretty significantly lower market cap to say Bitcoin. And the reason for that is, at least for the immediate future, Steam is probably going to be quite lower than Bitcoin as well from a market cap perspective. And the Steam dollars is always going to be somewhere in the 1 to 10% of Steam. And so for the Steam dollar market cap to really be able to take the amount of input and output that would be needed for Bitcoin traders to have a safe place to park their money without worrying about it going up or down too much in value, I don't think that the current mechanism is going to be able to satisfy that.
Well, yeah, so my math is a little different there. I think if we try to be Tether, we need 1.6 billion. And it might be a little bit higher, but that's the last number that I have in my head, which means that if we want to, if 1.6 billion is going to be 10% of a number, then that means that we need to be at $16 billion for our market cap, which means that we need to grow our market cap by 16. So because I think that we follow Moore's law, I think that that means that we have to grow our platform 4 times the size. In the last year, we 10x the number of accounts over the course of a year. If with high SBDs, I think we are currently tripling our growth rate. So I think we're about a year and a third. We're about 15 months away from being at 16 billion. And that's assuming that the price of Bitcoin doesn't go anywhere. So I am not in a position where I would say, Tim, this is like decades off. This is years off. I don't think that this is going to happen. The math that I'm
Well,
seeing in my head is
so I
we're about a year to year and a half, maybe 2 years away.
so I don't disagree with your math on the market aspect of it, but just purely on the supply and demand side, if I'm a trader and I see that someone wants to buy, let's just say 10% of the Steam dollar tokens that are out there, I'm most likely not going to sell that to them at a dollar. I'm probably going to wait because that large order is going to increase the price. And so there's always going to be a speculative aspect. And if someone wants a huge amount of Steam dollars in order to park their money, they're really going to have to play with the bots, the trading bots, in order to get that order in a way that doesn't move the price too much to pretty much defeat the purpose. Because as long as there's no way to push the price back down, then whenever there's high demand, whatever the numbers for that high demand are, then the market is going to usually react in a way of driving up the price.
I think I agree with that. And I'm not sure it's the end of the world. I mean, if it's in high demand, the price goes up. The price going up is going to drive users here. The users being here is going to increase the market cap for Steem because if you double the number of users, we quadruple the price. That's going to make printing SPDs even faster. So this sort of
So, but then
that's the
it gets
cycle.
into the whole thing though of, well, then you no longer have a stable asset token, which is kind of what we're saying. If we want to have a stable asset token, that's one thing. If we want to have a speculative token, that's another. I would argue that today we have a speculative token, and I don't think we have the mechanics in place with the current blockchain rules to make it a stable token. I think we can definitely have stability, and there's a range of stability that we could probably achieve with the right level of changes. But I don't think that without a more significant change, we're ever going to get to a point where we can hold that within a pretty tight range over a long period of time, despite how much supply and demand there is in the market.
Well, I think when we get to a larger market cap, if we're only, when we're $100 million and this thing is only $10 million, $10 million is a drop in the bucket in the financial world. If we get up to $160 billion and SBDs is $16 billion, then I think it's going to be a lot harder to make that sort of dent. So I think that these boom and bust cycles are helping us grow in a very meaningful way. Again, my back of the envelope says we have tripled our growth rate because of this, and so I think we'll get everything that we need out of this. And if we're looking to make it so that it returns to the $1 value faster, the middle of the round, the middle of the road things to do would be increase our bias temporarily. I think a bias in the long term is a dangerous risk because of it could allow too much debt to be printed. So I don't like it for the long term, but in the short term where it's highly overvalued, I don't see much downside. And as I've been thinking about this, Net, you also brought this up to me, and I've been thinking about it that way for just a couple of days now. But I do think I'm going to increase my bias as a result. And the other option is to go pay out post rewards so that you could select an option of 25% Steem power and 75% SPD. And that would decrease our Steem production rate by half and increase our SBD production rate by 1.5, or like not 1.5, but 1.5x. It would be 50% more Steem or SBDs printed every day.
So the second change that you're talking about, I think, is a good one. Another one that's very similar to that is to pay out the rewards that go to beneficiaries in Steem dollars as well. Basically, if you have a beneficiary post right now where you're splitting the rewards between yourself and either a platform or another user, you get paid in 50% Steem dollars, 50% Steem power, whereas the beneficiaries are only getting paid in 100% Steem power. So that would be another tweak along those lines as well. And
Yeah,
I don't think those are bad changes to make.
I'd support that, Tim.
But the first one that you talked about, as far as the bias, I'd like to talk about that a little bit, although it might get a little bit technical for some of the people in the audience, but I'm actually pretty strongly against using a bias. And one of the reasons behind that is because we're we're increasing the debt on the Steem blockchain, and we're also messing with the inflation numbers.
Yep.
So by doing that, you're basically creating more Steem dollars than the market is expecting just based on the blockchain rules. I think, um, you know,
Absolutely. I
and
completely agree with that statement.
And so, with the current mechanisms that are in place, all the Steem dollars that are getting generated, even though right now they're not being redeemed for Steem, we have to assume that at some point in the future, that someone is going to convert those Steem dollars back into Steem, and that's probably going to be at a period where it's a bear market.
Yep.
And so, to artificially create more Steem dollars than the blockchain is allowing based on the rules that are there, we're essentially just creating more debt for ourselves in the future that at some point we're going to have to pay back with a lower Steem price.
I agree with that entirely. I mean, the advantage of like the payout is that we are so if you do 75% SBD and you look at post rewards, the post reward becomes something like 95% of that value comes from SBD. But the platform itself didn't actually pay that much out because the only we would provide roughly 5% would be in the form of steam power. um, 1/7 of the SBD would be redeemable, or one seventh of the value that comes from the SBD portion would be redeemable in Steem. But the other $6 is being paid for by pumpers, speculators, or investors, depending on what you want to call them.
Yep.
SBD purchasers is the best term because that is just a true statement. They would be paying for the post rewards. They would be paying for our growth. It would not be the Steem blockchain. So
Yep.
that to
Yeah,
me
that's
represents one of
completely
the
correct,
best
and that's why I like the second proposal, as well as the one with
beneficiaries.
beneficiaries. Is that in those cases we're not creating more debt than the blockchain allows. Basically, we're we're still staying within the inflation numbers. It's just instead of paying out in Steam power, we're paying out in debt, which that actually can be beneficial if you assume that the price of Steam is going to continue going up. Because let's look at the price of Steam today is $6, and so if you pay out instead of generating new Steam tokens, you generate $6 worth of Steam dollars. If the price goes up to $12, and then eventually the Steam dollar market basically stabilizes and it gets to the point where people start cashing those in, they're only actually going to get $3 worth of Steam, or they'll
It's
still get. I'm sorry,
complicated. It's
it
hard
is.
to do this in your head.
They're still going to. I'm sorry, they're still going to get $6 worth of Steam, but it's half the amount of Steam that the blockchain would have needed to pay out if it would have paid out at the point that the rewards were generated.
Yeah. And that's why I think it's a good proposal. I also think that it exposes us to almost no risk, right? If we do like a 75%, 25%, or if we do beneficiaries, or if we even do things like start paying witnesses and SBD, all of these things are meant to go increase the amount of SBD that's generated. If we do that and we do it in a stepwise fashion, there's not a whole lot of risk. If we do this conversion thing and we crash the price of SBD, markets don't respond well to like who are these 20 people that are deciding how this market and this platform works, and they have crashed a token. Not only could we crash SBD, and like you said, it's the roller coaster. We could actually really harm the price of Steem, and that to me, there is a gigantic benefit that is potential for using SBDs as like the underlying value of all commerce on the internet. That would be amazing. We would all be like, my Lambo would be driving a Lambo. But I think that there's a giant risk to getting there that I don't think is going to materialize, in part because we had $1 SBD for a long time. And like today, 90% of the SBD is sitting on Poloniex and Bittrex, with lots of it on Bittrex. Um, it's not used as a token, and it wasn't used as a token like December 5th when it was still right around $1. So I don't understand how just making this mechanism is going to magically overnight turn us into a internet commerce powerhouse powering the entire internet. I don't see where that happens. Although I do see where a price crash happens immediately, and that's bad for the platform. So to me, I see an enormous amount of risk to taking that approach at the size that we are now. And I think that if we just why don't we just increase the speed of SBD production by 50% and see if that gets us far enough? I don't know. Maybe it's not enough. And then maybe I have a little bit of egg on my face. But if we try that, maybe that can help inform us of, well, 50% didn't do it. It made a dent, but not a lot, or it didn't do anything. We really need to pump it out. So maybe that conversion is absolutely necessary.
So there's three parts there that I want to kind of talk about. One of them is that I think there is definitely a huge argument to be made that the timing of this is very important, and there is real risk, as you said, to just throwing a change out there that all of a sudden tanks the market. So I don't think we really have any disagreement there. On the side of the value and just the marketplace forming, that is definitely not going to happen overnight. I think part of the problem with the trying to form a market when it was back at $1 before is the market cap was so small and the community was so small that there really wasn't much of a business opportunity there for people. I think that's changed a little bit, although I think we'd actually need to be even higher than we are now for it to be a real market opportunity.
That's my entire point. I'm stoked to hear you say that, because I'm not against the conversion. I actually think that the conversion in the long run, when we are bigger, could be a phenomenal growth for us. And
Well,
I'd look at Minnow in the eye and say, you're going to
the
lose a quarter
challenge,
of your.
though, the challenge is that there's opportunity costs, and we don't know what those are. So this is completely hypothetical, but if Tether was to explode tomorrow, and there was, basically a crash of that token, and there really wasn't a viable alternative for it, everyone's going to turn to the alternatives such as BitUSD. If Steem dollars was a stable token, then they would turn to Steem dollars. And that event, whenever and if it ever occurs, there's a lot of speculation around it, is a one-time thing. If we're not in a place where we can take advantage of that when it happens, there's no more Tether exploding opportunity in the future.
Yeah,
And
I'm totally on board with that. I've listed a couple things like Amazon wants to use us, eBay wants to use us, Tether exploding could work for me, Coinbase wants to convert us to dollars. Any one of those could be enough where I'd say, screw the high SBD, this will lead to more growth. So having it programmed and on the shelf, yeah,
well,
I'm not going to
the
fight it.
concern though is they're not going to even look at us for that opportunity if we're not a stable token. And so we have to get there first before those opportunities are going to present themselves, which creates a chicken and egg problem, because if we're waiting for those opportunities to be able to make that leap, and that those opportunities aren't going to come until we do make that leap, then we're probably never going to get there.
Yeah. That is that you are right. That is an opportunity cost, and that is a upside potential risk. Um, and I agree. I guess my thought would be, when I do back of the envelope math, I think it is more likely that we crash SBD and suffer Steam price as a result, um, and don't see the benefit immediately because nobody was doing it a month ago, rather than let's do this speculative thing in hopes that somebody picks it up. Um, I just don't. If we were
Well,
in
so
talks
your
with,
back of the napkin math is probably correct, and I don't really disagree with you. I think we can come to an agreement that in the short term it's going to be bad, and in the long term it might be good.
so I would just say let's get to the point where in the short term it's good and in the long term it's good, and then let's deploy something like this. So like if Coinbase shows up and says, hey, if you guys have a stable currency, then we'll exchange for it. Great. if Amazon says,
those types of conversations don't happen. They're not even going to reach out and look at Steam dollars as a potential for that if we're not in a position where we can meet their market need.
"Yep," and if we're not a sizable counterparty either. I mean, if we get up to like $160 billion market cap, um, or a $16 billion market cap, or just more than where we're at, then I think more of those opportunities will come, and then I think it's more appropriate. And again, I don't think that like my resistance to this thing is not going to extend more than like 2 years, which I know it's an internet crypto eon, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm not way against this indefinitely. I think it's a relatively short term. I mean, even on a good BTC pump, it might even get us there. So I'm not looking of like, oh shit, I'm gonna fight 19, or I guess it's not 19. I'm gonna go fight 11 other witnesses for a decade on this. Like, I don't see that happening. I just think it's, let's get up to 16 billion and then let's have that conversation again. And in the meantime, yeah, it kind of sucks. We got to go through these SBD boom and bust cycles, but at the moment it's tripling our growth. Let's take the bird in hand rather than the one in the bush that has a whole lot of risks associated with it.
So how about we talk about something else? I think if anyone's listening that doesn't like talking about Steam dollars, we might have them pretty bored at this point. And there's obviously quite a few other topics. So what should we talk about next?
Well, I want to go for maybe 15 more minutes, and then I want to bring on Renee and They Will Kill You. So do you want to talk about a witness thing? Do you want to talk about a personal thing? Do you want to do you want the audience to get to know you more as a human being? Like, they clearly know that you are a thoughtful, considerate, charming person. We could go in that direction, or we could talk about some other aspect. Like, if we want to make this super witnessy, we could talk about abuse on the platform. If we wanted to make this social, we could just say, who are you? What do you like? What do you do when you're not steaming?
So let's stick with something on the Steam side. I'm open to any topic that you think your listeners would be interested in talking about.
Well, my listenership, I see a whole bunch of minnows in here, and also, I'm sorry, I don't know how everybody feels about swearing, but there is a group that is called the Unfuckers, and these are brand new people, and I can see a couple of them in here. Do you want to give a little bit of I have some pretty standard advice that I give to brand new people on the platform. I'd love to hear what is the Tim Cliff, excuse this, but what are the Cliff notes of how to get started on this? How do we get somebody going?
That's a great question. In a high level, the best advice that I can give is to find a way to add value to the platform.
Yeah,
And
good answer.
a second part of that is that just based on the way that the platform works, I don't think that most people are going to see immediate payouts from the effort that they put in.
That's true
And
too.
so to kind of combine those things and just tie it into my own personal story, I have a technical background, and so I've found ways to add value in a technical way, but there's huge parts of the community that
Tim, you're cutting out. Tim?
Can you hear?
Oh, now you're back. There are huge parts of the community that.
So there's huge parts of the community that I think are underserved from just a community building perspective, a onboarding perspective, and for individual users, I think everyone is going to have something unique that they can do and a different way that they can add value to the platform. And what I found was successful for me is basically I found what I was able to do that added value, and I just kept doing it. And for the first 6 months or so of doing it, I was not making a lot of rewards. But eventually, people kind of learned that Tim Cliff is the guy that does that. And, I don't want to really go too specifically into what I do because I want it to be more of a message for other people is find out what your that is, figure out what it is that you're going to do that people kind of look at you as the person who does that, And then over time, you'll build an audience of people that are interested in that specific thing.
Now, you were doing things that were technical. You were making suggestions to GitHub. GitHub as a word might not even be familiar to a lot of people here. So, how do you yeah, we can talk about that as a developer or system admin or computer nerd or something. But how do you do that when you're coming in but you don't have that kind of background? Because I think a lot of the minnows in here that are listening to that advice might not immediately know how to translate that from, well, just work on this technical stuff to, well, I don't have any technical skills, so what do I do? How do I provide value if I don't have tech skills?
Well, so as far as the GitHub thing, when I first joined, I saw an immediate problem, which was that there was a lot of people that were asking for improvements to be made in the platform, but no one was really sure whether those needs were being heard. And there also was a lot of questions as far as what the Steam developers were doing and what they were actually working on. What is the next feature that we're going to see? And so I spent time basically trying to bridge those two gaps by creating a wish list of all the different things that the people in the community wanted, as well as trying to understand what the developers were doing in GitHub and present that in a way that people could understand. Obviously, that opportunity has kind of come and gone, and that obviously requires a technical experience. But um, there's a lot of other problems in the community in various ways, and I'm just going to latch on to onboarding because I think that's something that your community does very well. Is when people come into the platform, they need somebody to hold their hand, they need somebody to explain things, they need somebody to help them be successful. And if you can kind of be that person, that's a need. And you don't necessarily need to have a technical background for that. Another example would be creating a community where people can kind of gel around an idea and interact with each other in a way that adds value to stakeholders. A good example of that could be finding a way to make art on Steam more visible to the outside world. What would be something that would drive a whole bunch of artists to the platform and get them interested? How can we get those people to come here? How can we get them to be successful? And how can we get the stakeholders to recognize that what they're doing is adding value and something that we want to reward? So those are all things that can be done that don't require technical background, but it's a good example of something that, if that's your area and something that you would find that you'd be passionate about, that would be an easy way that you could add value, um, just in something that doesn't require technical knowledge.
The one other one that I'd add to that list is something geographic. If you're in a city, then go host a meetup for people in that city. That maybe that's already
Yes, totally.
happening and then you just work with them. But, if you're in Spokane and there's nobody else doing this in Spokane and you'd like some friends on the Steem blockchain, then go get a coffee shop and go invite some friends and, um, DM me. You could probably DM Tim too. I don't want to throw you under that bus, but if people that are listening to this start hosting things, I will re-steam them to 13,000 people, and I'll happily try to help you get more audience there. Okay. Um, let's see. So, how do you help new users? I guess. What do you think is the hardest part of being a witness? And do you think there's anything different about being a top 5 witness? Like, I've never been there, so how is that different? What's the hardest part of this?
Uh, I don't have an answer for that. I actually enjoy pretty much all aspects of the job. I think probably one of the harder things was actually getting noticed when I first started. That's behind me at this point. I think at this point people kind of know who I am, but for the first 6 months, I had a pretty big uphill battle as far as getting people to recognize who I was and showing that I was a person who was adding value and somebody that they could trust. I mean, I still have that to an extent I think, as you know, as a witness, you're kind of always having to campaign. In a 1 day's notice, we can lose our votes because of an unpopular decision. So it's definitely important to kind of stay on top of things. But I do feel like I've kind of gone past that hurdle as far as being a new member and people not knowing. But that was probably one of the hardest things that I would look at the entire witness process.
Yeah, it was savage. I mean, I like put out a bunch of posts that were satirical in nature about just how challenging that could be, from groveling for witness votes to trying to get noticed. I mean, I was thinking about the shirt of like, I did all of this stuff and all I got with this lousy T-shirt. I put
Yes.
out some post of like, I built the 5,000 Steemian organization and all I got was witness 60. Like some of that boggled my mind in terms of like, um, you know, you came in early and it was still hard for you. I came in relatively early. It was still very hard for me. If you are now one of the 200 witnesses that are trying to get noticed, um, it is even harder today than it was, 8 months ago when I started this. And it's only going to get more challenging. So getting noticed is absolutely a maddening challenge. What do you like most about doing this?
I like the people. I'm a little on the shy side in real life, so I would. It'll sound bad, but I don't have a lot of friends.
Oh,
Um,
I don't
no, not
believe
like that.
that.
But I don't socialize a whole lot outside of Steam it, and so interacting with people here and just kind of getting to know a lot of different people that I actually consider friends on the platform has been quite fun.
Yeah, totally agree with that too. I mean, I call this place my digital homestead. This is my home.
Yeah.
These people are my family. And if I'm passionately engaged in discourse over this stuff, it's only because I value this place so much and these people so much. I love it here. Like this is a dream come true. So um, I can respect that too. Where do you think that Steam should head? Like what aren't we doing that we need to be doing? And then like what is your vision that is separate from where we are, or is there a specific problem you think we need to address next?
I think my vision is that Steam and the platform becomes more prevalent than Facebook and Instagram and all the other social media platforms out there. And I think we can definitely do that. As far as the obstacles, I think before we make that leap, there's a few things on the technical side that the development team has to overcome first. And I know they're working pretty hard at that. Just kind of listing through the obvious ones, the sign up process is still pretty broken, and I think that needs to be smoothed out by quite a bit in order to really be in a position where we can onboard a lot of people. I think some tweaks need to be made to the bandwidth algorithm, and I know several people have brought that to the developers' attention, and so they're most likely looking at that. Um, the scalability just of the blockchain software, um, I don't think we could grow ourselves by a factor of 1,000, 1,000 times bigger than what we are today without a few tweaks on the technical side. So I think AppBase, which is one of the main projects that the blockchain developers are working on, is going to be really important before we're really in a position where we can become the most popular social media platform. But I think once we get those technical challenges behind us, we're definitely going to be in a pretty awesome position to make that happen.
Um, so let me ask you a hard question. Hey, look, there's a lot of witnesses that come out here and say, "Oh, Stink is the worst." They're a whole bunch of. They're not doing anything. The UI is terrible. The interface is broken. The peg is broken. All this stuff is broken. It's Steemit's fault, and uh, stuff is going to hell. How do you respond to that? Do you like chime in and agree and high five them, or do you have like a healthy, different set of expectations or something that you would chime in
No,
with?
I'm probably the opposite. I love the Steemit crew. I talk to the people on that team quite often. I kind of started building my relationship with the developers pretty early on, just because I started actually doing things in GitHub. I would, review the changes that they were doing and make comments on them. I would ask questions. I would make changes myself. And so I think they kind of got to know me just through the work that I was doing. And over time, I've gotten to know most of the people on the team pretty well. And the one thing I can say about them is that they're very passionate and working extremely hard to drive the platform forward. But I think they do a bad job of presenting that to the community. I don't think people really have any idea how hard the people on that team are actually working. And if they saw some of the stuff behind the scenes, just as far as, they're on top of things, they're.
Oh, it looks like I lost Tim again. Oh,
Hello?
try again. You faded for a moment. On top of things.
Oh, how about now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Um, I think if people understood what they were doing and where they were going and all the different stuff that they were working on, most of which can be seen even in GitHub, but it's hard to understand, they would know that the team is very passionate. But I think another part of it is that they're focused on some different things. Like as a user, we kind of have our itches and our needs and things that we find very important. And I think they take those things into consideration, but the priorities that they have for driving the platform forward in the long term are a lot of bigger things than what we as users are looking at this point in time. And I think people get frustrated when they're not working on the things that they find important, and when they're not really necessarily selling the vision of what they're doing in a way that lets people know why the stuff that they're interested in isn't getting done. I think that's where a lot of the frustration comes from.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Do you have any timelines of the mobile wallet, of the velocity and the onboarding changes of Hive and communities or SMTs? Are you in the
I
loop
wish I
there?
did. I think no. I think that the joke is soon with a trademark symbol after it. Um,
I love product people. I mean, I've been in sales forever, and you try to nail them down, and it's like, look, this is a product roadmap, not a product guarantee. Here's the scope. We think it'll be done here. We don't know exactly when it's gonna be done. We have to test the whole thing. It is, you know, you hand wave and you say, I don't know when it's gonna be.
Yeah, and I mean, I think from what I've gathered, they're as eager to get this stuff out as we are to have it launched, but they're working very hard to make sure that everything is done in a way that is successful.
Yeah,
And sometimes when you spec something out a year in advance and you're like, oh, yeah, these are the things we're going to do, when you actually get into the technical aspect and you start coding it out, you can realize that it takes a little bit longer. And I'm guessing that they're probably more concerned about making sure that when it is released, that it works the way we all want it to, and it's got all the features and functionality, than meeting a date and getting it out and rushing it in a way that might not be the best for the platform. So there's a lot of stuff that we're all very excited for, and I keep hearing that they're going to be done soon.
trademark.
As I said, don't have those.
Well, Tim, I want to keep having a conversation, and hopefully we can have an open dialogue. We talked a little about Steamification of social media. I feel like Renee and They Will Kill You are two people that are absolutely leading that charge on the platform right now, bringing a 1.8 million subscriber YouTube following and driving them to the platform. So that felt like a pretty good segue. That I overran it a little bit, but I did want to keep hearing from you. I'm hoping that we can have another like fireside chat like this again in the not too distant future. And but I do want to make sure that I can get to Renee and They Will Kill You, and then I also want to make sure that the Minnows have time to come talk to me. Are we in an okay stopping point to pick up in the not too distant future?
Yeah, that sounds good, and I really appreciate you having me on. It's been a great talk.
Well, Tim, I respect the hell out of you. I really do. And if
Same to you.
I hope that comes across that I just hold you in extremely high regard. And personally, I'm incredibly thankful for the mentorship that you have provided me. I would not be in the position that I'm in now as a top 20 witness without your help. And frankly, the minnows that get the benefit of the 65,000 Steem power that I delegate back to this community wouldn't enjoy that either if it wasn't for your help. So thank you for your delegations. Thank you for your help in general. Thank you for your mentorship to me personally, and thank you for being able to find ourselves not perfectly in agreement or alignment, but working on behalf of what we think is best for the platform. And if I know anything, I know that having Tim Cliff be part of the Steem community is absolutely one of the best things that we have for this platform. So thank you for your service.
Thank you, Agro. That really means a lot. And you as well. I appreciate all the stuff that you do, and I think you're doing amazing things for the community and especially the new members who really need the support that you provide.
Oh, it is an honor to serve. So with that, let's go. Let's end this for now, and I'm going to go bring on Renee, and they will kill you, and they can talk about how we are going to steamificate all of social media. That sound all right? Well, I lost him. So that's pretty good timing. So I'm going to go out and say Tim Cliff is amazing. If you only had one witness vote, you might want to make it Tim. Fortunately, you have more than one, so maybe you can vote for more people than that. But Tim is absolutely amazing. So let me go. I want to go talk. I'm going to do a quick intro for Renee and They Will Kill You. I'd like to thank them both for being patient with me while I was having this conversation with Tim. They Will Kill You runs a YouTube channel called They Will Kill You. Renee runs a YouTube channel called World 5 List. And that is his, the World 5 List and They Will Kill You are their Steam It handles. They are business people. They run YouTube accounts that are growing in value. They are looking at the challenges of sort of YouTube demonetizing their content, and they are looking at, is there a future that is bright within the Steem community? And they are purposefully making content for the Steem community, and seeing, especially as our price rises, more financial opportunity here. And I love the way that they think. I wish that they were even had better and stronger motives, but frankly, we have to see where our price fits in with their economics and what makes the most sense. And they're just very bright people. And to me, they are leading the charge in terms of how do we build a YouTube or a video or a vlog community here using DTube, using DSound. How do we grow this? And these two are at the forefront. So I'm going to bring on Renee and They Will Kill You. And it is an absolute pleasure to have you on. Can you guys say hello and introduce yourself so that people can be familiar with your voice?
Ange, go ahead.
Hey, Agro. It's good to be back here. Starting to feel like I'm in my comfort zone on msp-waves radio. So thanks for having us. First of all, I do want to say I see Team Steem is out there listening. I do want to send you a huge thank you for the support with that you've shown us with this big push. And then also I want to say hi to Of Food and Art. That's my mommy, my dearest mommy listening. She's an angel. She's there with my dad, and yeah, you should check out her blog Of Food and Art. She does some amazing food photography.
That's awesome.
So hi guys, hope you're doing well.
Hi Angelo's mom and dad. It is great to have you guys here. Renee, do you want to talk and say hi?
I'm logged in from Amsterdam right now. It's 3:30, so I might not be all that sharp. And I'm actually flying to Bangkok this evening to meet up with Angelo. And yeah, I'm excited to be back. I think this is my third time now, and it's always been fun. So hopefully it's going to be fun again tonight.
Well, it's great to have you guys. I mean, I literally think you are the vanguard. I think you guys are piercing through that membrane of going from YouTube, which many have been describing to me as a dying platform, and coming to Steem, which many people are saying seems to be a growing, happening place. What's influencing your decision to do this? And then what do you have in store for us? Because I feel like you got kind of a project announcement that we want to talk about. But what's driving you here? Why Steam? Why now? And why not YouTube?
Hello?
Now I can hear you.
Sorry, what was the question? You were cutting out.
So why Steam now? And why what's going wrong with YouTube?
There's nothing new that's going wrong with YouTube. We've been facing these demonetization policies and censorship for close to a year now. So we're used to it, and we're still able to turn it into a profitable proposition. Business is still booming. It's just that we're in it for the cause. It wasn't until you asked us, Agro, to get us on this show that the flame was kind of reignited, because we saw it as more of an outlet for what we're passionate about, like really business, whereas YouTube are more where we can release our passion projects. Like, for example, the one where we went to Colombia and hung out with Pablo Escobar's Hitman. That automatically got demonetized, but we weren't in it for the money. We were in it for the experience and to share our message with the world. And we kind of saw DTube as a place to do that without any censorship policies and without any of YouTube's like ridiculous ad guidelines and all of that.
Renee, would you echo that?
Yeah, one thing I would like to add is, we started looking at other options. One of the options that, or one of the platforms that we have tapped into is Patreon. But I mean, Steam seems to be a much better alternative for us to YouTube than Patreon seems to be. Even though Patreon, I mean, it's not a bad platform by any means. But it's just that Steam is showing a lot more promise. And yeah, we just did get off. Angelo had already posted on D2 before. I started posting today. And it's just like, it's a really promising start. I think Steam it will be it will be better for us to eventually be able to make money off the kind of content that we really, really want to make. Like Angelo said, the stuff that we filmed in Colombia, that's the kind of stuff that, that's like our dream content to be able to make.
So how are you going to do that?
Oh, I'm sorry, just
go for it, Angelo.
One thing I forgot to add in too is that it's really not about the money for us switching over to DTube. It's another overall thing that we want to help out with is just the cause, because we're us and our families and our friends are extremely bullish on Steam It and just everything that this community represents. So we just want to raise awareness and help boost the network and the platform and the technology as much as possible.
So what do you think that Steem It represents?
Steem It, it's not one thing represents. It's kind of a cluster of things, like lack of censorship, the ability to pursue your passion, the ability to use it as a creative outlet, the ability to change your life, not just financially, but also from an artistic perspective, the ability to build businesses out of it. I mean, everything,
And to be clear, can you still do that on YouTube, or is that no longer available?
On YouTube, I think, but the barrier to entry is a lot higher. Like I said, YouTube is becoming more treated like a business rather than a place that you can use as your like artistic and creative outlet.
YouTube is pretty unpredictable too. I mean, it's one thing to know that certain videos are not going to be monetized on YouTube, but it's a whole other thing to have a bunch of videos that, I mean, this is always personal, but that I think can easily be monetized or should be monetized even, and have those demonetized. Like, it's super unpredictable right now.
All right, so you recently have launched. Both of you have a new video. Actually, I haven't even seen Renee's, so I got to get to your page. But what did you both release? What are you talking about? What's the DTube content that you're making and passionate about now and bringing to Steam now?
So, um, it's on YouTube was each a 30-second to 1 minute clip of a video gets censored on YouTube, and then it's followed or preceded by a clip of us saying, "Hey, if you want to watch this full video, go over to DTube. The link is in the description below. So click over there and check it out."
And then what are
These
you
videos-
talking about? What's that new video about?
Okay, so well, it's funny that you say passionate because it's not really something we're passionate about in the sense that it's about Nazis. Interesting, and it's more of the type of stuff that we're interested in and interested in writing about and creating videos on, because like who doesn't love to watch like documentaries on the History Channel about the Nazi regime? You know, there's so many. If you look on Netflix, there's so many of them on there, and these are the types of things that will just get instantly monetized by YouTube. They read the metadata, they see it says Adolf Hitler, Nazi, Third Reich, and it's instantly monetized, which means it's instantly unfavorable in the algorithm, which means instantly has less exposure.
So
Which is understandable for that kind of topic, by the way.
Yeah, so I linked that article. I mean, I thought this is 10 plans Hitler would have put into motion. I mean, I can see how that's cool. I mean, I'm not like, you guys are not Nazis and pro-Nazis, but like that is that's cool content. That is interesting. That is like captivating content. So I don't know. I thought it was cool just looking at the title, seeing the picture, like, and I could see how on YouTube that wouldn't make any sense, right? Like that's the first article that's going to get it so that like you start threatening your audience with that. And here it's going to be like, well, holy shit, what are they writing? What are they saying? I mean, I think that there's a lot of interest here.
Yeah,
Exactly.
in general, people on Steam, I mean, this has been said before by many others, but people on Steam are just a lot more positive. I think we even talked about that the first time we talked, how people have, and it's not because people have an incentive to be nice, but people just are a lot nicer on Steam than they are on YouTube. YouTube is bad and it's getting worse.
Do you think that people are rude and mean? Like, have Carrie Wedler, who has some Facebook and YouTube audience, was pretty negative about the exposure that she's gotten. Do you get like kill yourself kind of responses and, you know, go to hell, you miserable bastards, or like what? Do you have just like really happy fans, or do you get a lot of trolling and crudeness in the comments of the stuff that you post?
So, sorry, can you repeat the last part of that question?
Do you, on your YouTube videos, are you getting a lot of negative responses? Is it like vitriolic? Are they crass or mean? Like, what is the audience like on YouTube?
Yeah, they're all internet trolls, and yeah, when you first publish a video, the first like 10 comments is like first people trying to get comments on it first or second, and then you get the people who are like, this narrator sucks. Where's the old one? Or this channel is dying. You should give up. But you also do get decent amounts of love too. Like, oh, hey, this is a great channel. I'm glad you did this topic. So it's mixed. But the thing about Carrie, she was on the panel, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. The thing about her is she's writing about anarchism and politics is naturally going to be controversial, and you'll get people passionate and heated up. So she should have known going into it that she's going to stir up a lot of emotion, rather than just getting love all around. So I just, you kind of have to take what she said with a grain of salt. But yeah, she is right too, where there's a lot of just trolls, whereas the Steemit community is more designed towards support and growth and showing people love.
So, have you noticed a difference with the responses on DTube than on YouTube?
We noticed what?
A difference in response from DTube and YouTube? Like, are your comments different? Are they better, worse, friendlier, meaner? How have the comments changed? How has your audience changed being over here?
World's different. It's all support. It's all people wanting you to succeed, and if there's anything with that's any hint of slightest hint of negativity, it's all with constructive criticism. So that's what I do appreciate, rather than just like first or
Like, that's pretty remarkable for the internet, right? Like, that is a rarity. That is the exception to internet interactions, not the rule.
absolutely. This person commented, says, I prefer trolls to plastic smiles. I do agree with that too. And trolls can be pretty funny, and we get a kick out of it. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of the support that you do get is very heartfelt and genuine, rather than just putting on a fake, oh, have a good day, but not anywhere near me.
And it's not like, I mean, we're not looking to have our asses kissed on DTube or anything. It's just that on YouTube, there's very little constructive criticism.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
So you're gonna head out. You're gonna meet up together. You're gonna be in Thailand. What are you gonna talk about? And then what is this a content creation meeting? Are you guys figuring out what the next steps are, and what's the next talk to Escobar's Hitman article? What's the next creative vision for what you're gonna do?
We're going to be tackling a lot of the direction of our new channel, Crypto Coin Consultants, and one of our actionable items on our to-do list is a how-to video that I mentioned to you, Agro, several weeks ago, for how to Steem it, like how to create an account, how to post, how to use the markdown syntax and tags and all that stuff, like a complete thorough tutorial to take a complete newbie beginner from not knowing anything about Steemit to like how they can their Bittrex wallets and all that stuff, and how they can adjust their upvoters and all that. So that's going to be one, as well as general direction of the crypto channel, and also a general direction of the Steemit Saturday and Sunday doing, and kind of assessing the feedback, seeing what works, what doesn't, and all that stuff. Renee, what else was on there?
I mean, I want to start thinking about the next thing after Steemit Saturday or Sunday. I mean, obviously, establish it first. It was a bit. I got in a bit of a time. What do you call it? Like, I had to rush it a little bit. So I didn't include some things in the YouTube video that I wanted to include. So we'll be working on that this week to improve that. And then I'm also eager to look past Steemit Saturday and Sunday and come up with new ways to promote Steemit more on the YouTube platform. And also, with how well Steemit Saturday and Sunday have been doing, we can carefully start thinking about a similar project as the one that we did in Colombia, and we can start thinking about who we would want to interview for that.
One thing I wanted to point out, or Renee and I discussed pointing out with you, Agro, is the Steemit Saturday and Sunday, for being up for like 24 or 48 hours, have done really well, but that's on DTube. On YouTube, actually, overwhelming number of dislikes as opposed to likes. There's 880 dislikes as opposed to 730 likes. Normally it's 90% likes as opposed to dislikes. So it's hard. We're having a hard time. The growing pains of bringing people over to Steemit and DTube. So we were wondering, like, if you have any ideas on making this transition for viewers a lot smoother from the old platform to the new.
Well, I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist when it comes to YouTube. Do you? I don't think that their plays is. I think their plays are manipulated, and I think their likes and dislikes are actually manipulated. Um, and I even think that they hire internet trolls to actually sit around and troll articles, whether it's them or some other group. Um, so I don't know how you get rid of that entirely. I mean, you were presenting a business model that directly competes with theirs. So I think you're going to get some negative response, but I think it's astroturf. I actually don't think that it's coming from normal people. I mean, for when you do like crypto things in general, maybe not even D2 related, but like how is your the new cryptocurrency consultants? Is that well received by anybody, or is it all negativity, or what's that look like?
Yeah, that's doing well. It's getting well received by both DTube and YouTube, and then just like the crypto community who I've talked to out here in Bangkok.
I think one of the problems is, I mean, recently you had this happening with BitConnect, right, which was heavily promoted on YouTube by a lot of people. And what we're trying, like, part of the message that we're trying to get across is, why not watch this video on DTube instead of on YouTube, where there's actually something in it for you. And that's going to sound to a lot of people, I feel like that's going to sound like a scam, just because they're uninformed, and because there is so many scams out there where people are trying to say something similar and convince people to actually fall for a scam, which obviously we know that DTube doesn't cost anything. People expect too that that's something that I read a lot in Angelo's comments. People think that they're going to end up paying to see his video. That was never said. They obviously didn't check out the link. They just commented for this, unsubscribe. I'm not doing this. And I think a lot of that has to do with actual scams going on YouTube.
But that's not isolated to just BitConnect and only cryptocurrency. Like, if I troll YouTube for like 4 minutes, I bet I could find 10,000 scams. I mean,
yeah.
Sometimes.
But it's just like the message is hard to deliver, because it's just like maybe it sounds too good to believe. You can watch this video, give it an upvote, and you can make a little bit of money in the process.
It is a little shocking, right?
Yeah.
I came over here with some skepticism in mind when I got here. I just said, oh, it doesn't look like I can get censored. That's good enough for me. I mean, I never thought that I would make, like, there was a period of time where I made 5 posts and a total of 7 cents. So I stuck through that, not because I thought I'm going to make a fortune here, but because I thought, there's value in this platform. There's value in being able to speak my mind and not get it censored. To me, the rewards have been like a wholly unexpected and quite miraculous bonus, as opposed to like destined from the very start. If anything, I felt destined to be in poverty. Not that I was poor, but like Steem poor, like no Steem power, no SPDs, and that would just sort of be a permanent state of existence, not, hey, I'm now a witness and doing pretty well, and my posts get reviewed and people like them. So.
Yeah, I believe that the majority of YouTube viewers are very short-sighted when it comes to platforms like Steam and YouTube. But it's not entirely their fault either, because they're just uninformed. But I could see why they think they'd be a little wary to be on it. But honestly, I just feel like we still have the upper hand, being early adopters of.
Yeah, but we'd have to work in our wording, and maybe we can eventually get some, like Angelo kind of reached out, like maybe we can eventually get some help with that, because the wording is just tough. Like, I thought about it today myself. Like, I don't know if I would like not fall for it, but if I would click through, because it just sounds too good to be true. If you've never heard of Steemit or of DTube, then it's just like I'm not going to get paid for watching a video. That's not a thing. Like, this has to be, this can't be legit. So I think we have to work on getting our message across, or trying and work on getting our message across a little better, maybe.
Well, wait till they get to Vice. Vice is going to pay you to go watch pornography. And that, like, if you have a hard enough time believing that somebody will pay you to watch videos at all, I think you're going to have an even harder time believing that one. And yet
That might
it's
help
coming.
us. That might help us if people see that it's possible.
So yeah, I mean, I think that there's some astroturf there, and I don't really understand the massive skepticism. I'm trying to recruit my dad because my dad's a physician and could have some money that he could put into this system, which I think would make him quite a bit wealthier. Maybe not in the next 1 month, but I think in the next 12 months. I think we're going to see astounding growth here. And I think astounding growth gets squared in terms of how that turns into a financial reward. So I'm
Absolutely.
I'm so bullish on Steem. Maybe not in the next month because I don't know what the price of Bitcoin is going to do, but I think by the end of the year we're going to see a much higher valuation than we've seen before. There's a lot of people. I'm looking at other folks and assessing that. I think Steem's going to be, or I think Bitcoin's going to be at $100,000 by the end of the year, just because I think that, especially in correction is bringing a lot of people into the market. Like new money, they're saying something like, wow, it used to be worth 20,000. This is a pretty good buying opportunity. I'll get in. I think these corrections can actually add a lot of people. And then when we double the number of people, we quadruple the value. So if we can already see 20,000 Bitcoin now, we're still a small enough community that to me it's entirely viable that in a single year we could double the size of that community, especially with how much hype we have. I think Bitcoin is going to go up. I mean, don't purchase because of that, because I said that. Do your own due diligence. I'm not a financial analyst. I pity the fool that takes it as financial advice. But as a consequence, if Bitcoin goes up to 100,000, Steem's going to be like $50. We're all, as Fierstekin would say, we're all going to be rich, although he'd do it with a cooler accent.
Agro, did you see the Vice ratings that came out? WEISS.
Oh yeah, the Weiss. Yeah, B minus as a cryptocurrency. That's pretty good. Like, we were one of the top 5, right?
5. I believe we ranked above EOS too, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that, but we ranked above well over 90% of the projects out there.
Yeah, Steem is awesome. I mean, delegated proof of stake. So we're going into some valuation conversation. So have you seen the blocktivity.info? Have you seen that? Do you know what I'm talking about there?
We sent it out during the Steem panel, right?
Yeah, I mean we are thanks sound waves. He has some weird veggie clip going. Yeah, no. The Blocktivity, I did send that out. Steam at Blog posted it initially, but if we double our user base in 2018, which I still think is entirely possible, we're going to be looking at, if we're already at capacity for Ethereum and we're already at capacity for Bitcoin today, and then we double the number of people in the marketplace. Holy crap! Those coins, you're never gonna. Like, I already can't move and sell EOS back and forth while it's an ERC20 token because it's already filled with CryptoKitties. And if they make crypto dogs, that thing is going to be even more filled. Like it to me, it's like this impossible thing to move. So I think we're going to double the number of people. The coins that are already at max capacity are just going to be worse. And people are going to look left and look right and be like, well, what actually still works? And I think they're going to see Steem sitting at under 1% usage and be like, all right, let's go do that.
Yeah, that's pretty huge.
and that's because of delegated proof of stake. That infrastructure allows that. Instead of trying to get consensus amongst 8 billion miners or whatever, you're going to do it with 20 different servers. Like that's some of where that power comes in.
Yeah, that's pretty huge. Also, oh, I remember what I was going to say. With all the new developments too of what do you call it? The Robinhood app doing free fiat to crypto exchanges,
Yeah.
going to bring a flood of new money coming in.
Yep.
And I wanted to get your take, kind of talking more crypto than YouTube, since you're a conspiracy theorist, Agro. Where do you stand with the recent bloodbath and the dump of Bitcoin that's been going on the past few weeks? What's your take on the conspiracy theory is caused due to big whales dumping their Bitcoin because they've got big, or what do you call it, big futures contracts open where they're shorting it?
I mean, that if you're asking me, are people going to intentionally manipulate things to get money? Then my answer is yes, they do that. And Bitcoin, our market cap is what? Like 300 billion, 500 billion. I didn't look today. Maybe it's up a little bit. I'll go to livecoinwatch.com, and the overall market cap is not showing up immediately. That's killing me a little. I don't know what our total market cap is right now, but even if, it's 581 billion. In financial terms, that's still like a drop in the bucket. In financial terms, we're talking like trillions and trillions of dollars is what matters. 500 billion really isn't all that much. And so just like pumping a shit coin and then dumping it later, you can make a lot of money doing that. Most of us can't envision pumping and dumping an entire crypto market. But if you're a fiat banker and you can print $16 trillion at whim and do whatever the hell you want, and there's no congressional oversight on that, and you have, astounding amounts of money to go play with, then manipulating the price of Bitcoin would fall directly in line with that. So if it later became revealed that central banks and powerful nations were using their market size to be able to manipulate the price of cryptocurrency markets as a whole, I would not be surprised by that in the slightest. I don't think I'm there yet proposing that that's what's happening, but it doesn't.
I don't remember the number, but I even read something about like how, like, you'd be surprised of how much money you would actually need to even be able to move the price of Bitcoin significantly.
Yeah,
like it's not that much money. You'd think it's a lot more.
Oh, then yeah, then like a central bank, even a central bank of a mid-sized economy should be able to do that.
Oh,
So,
easily, yeah.
So from that perspective, I don't trust central bankers. I think that central bankers are sort of the bane of our world's existence. And I wouldn't put it past them in a moment to say they're here to go manipulate this thing to profit from it. I mean, these guys, they were manipulating LIBOR. LIBOR is $7 trillion, if not more than that. And they had zero qualms manipulating that. And there were collusions amongst the private banks. I mean, I could see this as a, Thursday afternoon activity for them. How are we going to go manipulate crypto? All right, let's go do that.
And what are you bullish on?
In terms of individual cryptos, or in terms of, can you narrow down the scope of that?
Individual cryptos, aside from Steem and Bitcoin.
So in my portfolio, let's see, where's my portfolio? The things that I hold is probably the best example of what I think will do well. My number one token is Steem, and I actually, if it wasn't as huge of a portion of my net worth right now, I would be holding even more. I'm extremely bullish on Steem, and I think it's going to have a phenomenal 2018. So that is my number one by miles. My number two is split between lumens and BitShares, and it kind of depends on what day it is because those prices are keeping these things close enough in value. I like BitShares because decentralized exchanges are amazing, and this is a delegated proof of stake DAN coin that has a lot of room to keep working. And I just believe that like I don't know about Bittrex, but I do think one of the other witnesses was telling me that they have a recorded conversation of one of the exchanges talking about how they'll pause trading during mega pumps so that they can front run them, and then they'll let the public go afterwards. So I think the centralized exchanges are doing some really shitty and shady behavior. And so I think a decentralized exchange where that is significantly harder is going to become more and more pressing and more important. So I hold BitShares, I hold Lumens. I don't know much about the coin, but they are primarily in China. And I know that China is going to be, there's just so many people there that even if you capture like the tiniest freaking percentage, I just trust that the Chinese market is big enough to make Lumens really freaking big. And then my next one, and then the last kind of big holding that I have is Verge, sort of like a poor man's Monero. I just think that totally anonymous crypto coins are going to be exciting too. How did I do?
Last one you cut out.
Verge. Verge for
Verge.
completely anonymous transactions.
So if you're bullish on Stellar on the basis that it's based in China, then where do you stand with Neo?
I don't know enough about Neo. Doesn't Neo has gas, or is that next? I don't know much about Neo, so it hasn't really been on my radar.
No. You said you don't know much about Neo and what?
I don't know much about Neo, so I don't have much to add about it.
Just claiming that it's going to be it's the Ethereum of China. Similarity, a lot of ICOs launching on there like Red Pulse, and it runs off gas as well.
Is it? Yeah. So I was right. That is the one with gas. Is it literally Ethereum? Is that a proof of work or a delegated proof of stake coin?
No, it's proof of stake, I believe.
If that's proof of stake, then that actually might be pretty interesting to me. I should go check it out. I don't know much about it. I also know it was very cheap for me to send lumens from an account to the out of the exchange and into my wallet. So I thought that was attractive too. It was relatively quick and it cost almost nothing, and that's sort of that's pretty good.
They're from what I've been told, I don't really dig into the fundamentals too much because I have people who are better at it than I am. But I've heard that Lumens is going to be a version of Ripple.
Okay. Well, those are the ones that I'm holding. What would you suggest? What do you think are going to go up in value? Where's your money invested, or what you got?
It's what Neo for you about. Okay, yeah, Neo is proof of stake. Yeah.
All right. I mean that.
Bullish. What's that?
That's exciting then. I mean, I think I would want to look more into that, but I have some faith that the proof of stake coins can scale better than the proof of work coins.
Absolutely. They're not as weight the blockchains aren't as weighed down as proof of work.
So
For
what,
me, yeah, I don't, as I said, I fundamentals too much because personally because it's my people who I'm partnered with, my business partners, they're the ones that know the ins and outs of it, so I trust their judgment way more than my own. Neo, Zcoin, that's a privacy one. That's supposed to be really good. Ethereum, OMG, EOS, Cardano, Stellar, really good. Icon.
so what is the number one thing that your guys are evaluating these things on? Are they doing technical analysis, fundamental analysis? How are you guys making decisions?
Thing what?
How are you making decisions, or how is your team making decisions of what is the best way to build the portfolio?
A lot of insider information, I'll tell you that much. As well as, yeah, a lot of fundamental analysis and really meeting with the teams and getting to know them, because our we ran a conference out here and got the founder of Neo and the founders of OMG and Zcoin, all of them out here, and our team has built good relations with a lot of them. So they have a pretty strict vetting process as to which has potential and which doesn't.
Wow. Do
These are
any of
some
them
pretty,
speak English?
yeah, all of them do.
Um,
Partner hats that live in Bangkok.
if you got some friends that want to go come on the Minnow Mayor Town Hall, I'd love to go talk to them and interview them. And here's a way that they could go get some audience with Steem It folk, because I'd love to see more cross promotional conversations happening across various cryptocurrencies.
I'll talk to them about it. I'm sure they'd love to get on here.
Well, thanks. I mean, I mean, it sounds exciting. Maybe there are some of my viewership that would be interested in hearing more about those coins and investing in those coins. That would be totally cool.
Yeah, I'll talk to them about it.
So we talk about content. We talk about some of the challenges of YouTube and facing demonetization. We've talked a little bit about crypto and just sort of interest. How many different projects are you guys involved in currently? Is your focus like really on the YouTube channel itself, or the new crypto channel, or are you guys still, is that just one of the ventures? Like how is your time spent or split amongst the various projects, and what other projects might you have that we haven't even touched on? Are you there?
Hey.
I lost you for a second. Angelo? Renee?
Yeah, I'll take it. I think Angela's trying to reply, but I mean, most of our time, I think it goes. I don't know if it still goes for Angela as well, but most of my time goes into content creation still, and especially with some of the newer channels that we're starting up, like the crypto consultancy channel. That one, I wasn't super excited about initially, but when you combine that one with DTube, which originally that was just going to be another YouTube channel, but now seeing the potential that channel has on DTube, I think that channel might end up being our main focus for the next few weeks.
Wow.
To try and really grow that,
Well, I can try to hook you up with whatever witnesses are around here. I got some connections to these folks. So whether it's me or Tim or other folks, I bet a lot of the people from the Steem community would be willing to come on board and talk about Steem and why we as a group are bullish on this and why we think it's a good project and why we think it's going to a bunch of us think it's going to change the world. We think that SBD could be an underlying currency for just literally nations. Like a nation could say, man, our own internal currency is so broken that rather than peg it to the US dollar, why don't we peg it to SBDs, or why don't we adopt it as, or hell, why don't we create an SMT? I mean, I could see nations that are really struggling just take an entirely different approach than what they've been doing and thinking, all right, why don't we try this instead?
Well, there's some that have been working on their own cryptocurrencies, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I know Venezuela was.
there's the line of if you're not working on a blockchain application, whatever it is, there's a good chance your technology is already outdated.
Yeah.
And I believe that. I mean, just the transparency, the consensus, um, I don't know, just the creation. There's just so much better about this. The decentralization, like throughout all of the stakeholders, as opposed to having one central authority that might not always have your best interest in mind. Um, I think there's just so much power in these cryptocurrencies.
Yeah. Going back to what you said, it would be pretty awesome if we could. I mean, I don't think I haven't personally looked at it from that angle yet, but yeah, to have some of the big witnesses, maybe, and including yourself, maybe appearing on the crypto channel would be pretty huge. I mean, it doesn't have a huge following on YouTube just yet. I don't know if it ever will have a big following on YouTube. Because obviously, if it had a bigger following, it would be more enticing for some of the big Steemit people to get on it. But it still can be enticing with just YouTube, obviously. And
Well,
who knows where the channel will go on YouTube?
even if you only have 5 followers, if you want me on, I volunteer because you guys are awesome. I think your heart's in the right places. I'm excited to hear you talk passionately. I mean, Renee, one of the first times that we spoke on Skype, I was like, here's a guy that's not even thrilled with what he's doing. And just the change in your voice, talking about Steem and DTube and the content you're going to create, like that's really freaking cool. I love passion. I love hearing people's passion, and I'm excited to hear how this community, this product, this project has been able to extract that out of you, out as almost like a semi-depressed or like a not enthusiastic. I don't know how to characterize your own feelings about it, but it's been really cool for me to hear you in a relatively short time go from not that amped to like pretty freaking excited about what other opportunities are around here.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, the one thing, and I addressed that in my post today as well. The one thing, like that whole, and I don't want to like, and I don't want to keep talking about that in particular, but the whole experience in Colombia was so eye-opening. Like it was so fun to do, and it's just something that we knew we would not be able to repeat on YouTube because it just, it cost us a small fortune, and we, like Angelo said, we knew that in advance, so that's not an issue. But now seeing that we might be able to start creating that type of content and not, having to pay for it out of our own pocket, like actually, and like Angelo said, it's really not about making money because we have other projects that we can make money on. But to be able to, like, if we could do that a few times a year, like fly out somewhere and meet with someone as interesting as, Pablo Escobar's former assassin, like we have a list of people that we would want to try and do this with. That's something that I'm personally really enthusiastic about.
Can you give me one example of who might be on that list? Like what competes with Pablo Escobar's Hitman to you?
The mafia here in pretty big. There was a very cool, or at least what I thought was a very cool show on YouTube done by a Dutch channel that they followed one of the leading, or not one of the leading, the leading guy of a big motorcycle gang here in the Netherlands around for weeks. And they did a bunch of 10-minute episodes on YouTube. There was actually some controversy in the Netherlands because that was being paid for with tax money, technically. And, a lot of people weren't happy with that.
Did he consent to that, or was he against that?
Yeah, he agreed to it. And, I felt like he was just being very superficial whenever he sat down with them, even said they would get full access. But they did show like a good amount. I thought it was a very interesting show. It was done really well. The guy ended up in jail towards the end of the show. But he was a very outgoing character who was super fun to watch. A motorcycle gang, maybe not necessarily. We have plans of maybe, we would like to do that, but we don't know if it's possible. The prisons in Thailand are pretty fascinating. There's some stories about, Dutch guys being locked up in Thai prisons. There's a guy that had a bunch of coffee shops here in the Netherlands, was never touched because it's allowed here. And then he kind of retired in Thailand, and he was arrested in Thailand for having run coffee shops in the Netherlands, which is insane if you ask me. I don't know what else was involved with that, but that's like the official reason that he's in jail there, is that he had an imperium of coffee shops in Amsterdam, then retired, went to Thailand. They busted him, and he's been in jail for years now. That would be something that I would be interested in meeting with. And that might sound unrealistic and not possible, but we thought the same for Pablo Escobar's former hitman, and that got set up. So we know that eventually we'll be able to hold someone in.
That's a weird story. Like, if I were to go pick a news story, that's not the one that I would create. That's just man moves to other country, gets arrested for a thing that's illegal. That's legal. Like, is coffee illegal? Is running a store illegal? I guess I don't even understand what part of that was illegal.
Coffee.
The weed shops.
You guys cut out on me. Try that again.
Coffee shop is where they sell weed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can see how that makes for a confusing story if you don't realize that.
Yeah, I was like, he opened up a Starbucks and got arrested. No, he was selling weed and then he moved. But I don't even understand how you could say it was legal in the country I was in. I didn't break any laws in this geographic world. Why am I arrested now? Under what authority? It's just so weird to me.
Yeah, he's a Dutch citizen, ran his business here, and then just, decided to retire in Thailand, and that's where he's screwed.
All right, fellas. I want to do maybe 5 more minutes, so I'd like to wrap this up. I do want to try to get to some minnows and make sure that if there are people in this audience that want to share projects that are going to launch this week, or share some work that they're really proud of, or just kind of have a quick conversation about any of the things that we've discussed, I want to make sure that I'm the Minnow mayor, not just the YouTube and Witness mayor. So let's do this for I got to get to my peeps. So I want to give you guys some closing thoughts. And I think sort of vision. Where are we going? And you can take that either for your channel, for the cryptocurrency group as a whole, just you as a person. How are you developing? Just any one of these branches. Just sort of, what do you think the future holds? Shake the crystal ball and tell me where do you think we're going?
Where do I think we're going? Well, I'm just glad that we're finally being able to, that we finally got this started. And I think we'll be taking it a long way in 2018. The project of, trying to convert people from YouTube over to DTube and Steem it. I'm really grateful for the help that we've gotten so far. That's not, I don't think it's the amount of help that we've gotten is not normal. I don't think. much appreciated, and it's super motivating. And like you said, and I mean, you said it tonight and earlier, you kind of relit the fire when it comes to not my YouTube channel, but the World 5 List brand, and also Angelo's channel, obviously. I'm more passionate about it because I know that we'll be able to take it in the direction that we can take it in without being limited by, YouTube, for instance.
Angelo, can you speak?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can
finally?
hear you. Now you're in. You're good. What's the future hold for you?
Everyone on Steam it going to the moon.
I totally agree. Just wait. December of this year, we're going to be, as I told Tim, our Lambos are going to be driving Lambos.
No, but to be serious, I do. This community represents as a whole. I had a hard time answering that because that's just like asking what does blockchain technology represent as a whole. Pinning on one single thing, it's just changing societies and nations. And with Steemit in specific, I want to make it the next all-encompassing social media platform, the next Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all combined into one. Just Steem it, but the Steem blockchain as a whole with Steep Shot, DTube, all that stuff. And it's only a matter of time until it becomes that, because the technology and the fundamentals and the community and the support, the hype, it's all there. It's just a matter of time until we have our big breakout.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest. I'm happy that, in November my Steem was worth 1. It is now January and my Steem is worth 6. We were at highs of 9, almost 10, but that was at $20,000 Bitcoin. We're down at 11,000, somewhere around 11 or 12, and yet it's worth 6. I mean, I think I think that just says good things about us. Our market cap is increasing, our overall position amongst the crypto coins are increasing, and Bitcoin might still have one more dip, but I'm not going to sweat it. I'm going to keep moving forward, and I'm looking forward to what this year brings, because it's going to be insane. Like you said, there's so much potential between a platform that could literally replace all the rest of social media. Because I know I never got paid on Facebook, not a single dime for the 4 years that I spent there. So Steem is certainly looking like a better investment of my time than anything else that I've ever seen. And unless you're Katy Perry and you can make a couple $100,000 on a post, for the average person, this place has promise, whereas all of those others are basically time sucks.
Yeah, I agree. It's not about Steam it, I guess, to sum it up, isn't just about blogging. It's about changing lives. That's what I love about it.
All right. Well, I agree. That's why I do this. I think it's changing lives. I think we're going to change the world. And I literally think you two are the vanguard of that. You are at the very forefront of this, in terms of taking pre-existing large audiences and converting them into this landscape. I hope that the whales continue to reward you. I will continue to spread your content and re-steam it. I like you both. If I can help you in any way to get Steem people onto your crypto show, I am happy to facilitate that and help with that. And that's awesome. I'm excited. You guys are great. Thanks for coming on my show.
Thanks for having us, and thanks for all the support so far. It's really meant a lot.
No, worth it. Entirely worth it.
All right. I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Yeah. Let me know the next time you want to come on. You guys have more content that you want to share with this community. I will keep these doors open whenever you want them. I'm here to help promote you guys because I'm very grateful for the work that you're doing. Tim Cliff talked about you should add value to the platform. I think you're both adding value to the platform, and I will support you to the best of my ability.
Thanks a lot. You're adding a lot of value yourself.
All right, guys. Well, you were listening to msp-waves Radio. This is the Minnow Mayor Town Hall. I am the voice of your host, Agrode. You can catch me on a video feed in the doghouse that has been aptly named by Shane Welker, the troublemaker that he is. We have Aaron in the msp-waves waiting room. Maybe we're going to be able to get Zoe in here too. If you follow my blog, you'll know that I've recently invited a woman by the name of Danny Arnold onto the Steem platform. And she herself manages a group of people in a Facebook group that's called the Unfuckers. And their goal is to go unfuck the world. Erin is one of these members. I have not spoken to her previously, but I'd like to go have a conversation with her so you can meet one of the Unfuckers and start to know this group that I'm really gung ho about. These are good people. I interacted with them a lot on Facebook and saw their conversations, and they're quite interesting. So here's hoping that her voice and headpiece or her headphone and mic are going to work. And here we go. Aaron, you are live on the Minnow Mayor Town Hall. How are you this evening?
Hello?
Hey, I can hear you. How are things?
Oh, good.
I'm wondering if Zoe's going to come on at the same time. Are you pro that, against that? Do you want individual time, collective time?
You can bring on whoever you want. It's your show.
All right. Well, if Zoe is able to do this, and I'll look to Ron for a signal, then I would be happy to have one or both of you in here. Aaron, can you introduce yourself and just who you are and what you're interested in and how you found this group, and then tell us a little bit about the group.
First I want to say there are some other unfuckers in the list here on the left.
Zoe's in here. Who else is in here?
There's some, I don't know if they want to talk or not, but there are some others.
Okay.
Maybe they didn't see the thing go by.
Yeah, I guess Andrea's in here too. Andrea could come on as well. So there are others. Why don't you tell me who are you, and then tell me what this group is.
Okay, well, my name is Erin, and I'm a mother and a graphic designer. And about 2 years ago, I decided that I wanted to grow some organic food, and I ended up doing a permaculture project that I've started. And I've been following Danny's work for probably about 2.5 years, and I just joined the Unfuckers group on Facebook a couple months ago.
And so what brought you to them? Why do you think that's a useful endeavor? Why should you spend your time there?
You're breaking up a little bit.
Why is that a good use of your time? What about them? What about that group appeals to you?
I think a lot of things that I can't just discuss with everybody that I know because I wouldn't say they're awake like maybe you are. And the people in there are wide awake and all have different opinions, and you can bounce things off each other. And I like to follow Danny's work because she asks a lot of questions and she has a lot of answers, but if she doesn't have the answers, she definitely says so and leaves it up to other people to kind of bounce ideas off of each other. So I think it's a good support system.
Now, Zoe, you're in here too. Can you say hello, Zoe?
Hello?
Hey, I can hear you. That's great. Welcome to the Minnow Mayor
cool.
Town Hall. Can you introduce yourself to this Steem community? Who are you? And then tell us what sort of drew you to this group as well.
Yeah. I'm Zoe, obviously, and I found Danny's videos on YouTube, and after listening to them for a few years, I decided I should probably go and join the group since I agree with a lot of what she says, and it seemed like a good place to share ideas and talk about things you can't with most other people.
So what do either of you actually? Could you give like a little more personal background? So you found Danny's group. What drew you to it? Why were you watching those videos in the first place? What do you um, what's the main problem in the world? Like what needs unfucking?
Um, Everything. Um, I like weird stuff,
Yeah, this
and
show goes deep into the woo, and that's Danny's word. I mean, I've been watching Transpicuous News. I've been watching some of this stuff since 2012, and I'll share these topics. And there are quite a number of conspiracy theorists. You are not unique or alone in the crypto community. That's actually fairly common. So you guys both sound a little hesitant to speak about what's important to you. Just so you know, you're in a pretty receptive audience. Not everybody will believe you, and not everybody will immediately agree, and they'll all have some constructive discourse. But if you're worried about being called a bunch of lunatics for having a couple ideas, you're actually in a pretty safe space.
okay.
I think health is a big issue with a lot of people. There's a lot of people that are into alternative health kind of ideas within the community. So that's something that's discussed a lot. Politics, um, science, like CERN type of things, chemtrails, pretty much anything.
Yeah.
Do you guys think of yourselves as Democrats or Republicans?
I'm sorry, you broke up.
Do you think of yourselves as Democrats or Republicans?
Neither.
No.
What is wrong with either of those groups?
My opinion is that they're both being played against each other because it's a big scam.
And
Yeah, I agree.
what is that scam?
To control and dominate all people on the planet that are in the top handful.
Mhm.
So sometimes when talking about that, I'll mention that to my family of like, you know, um, some of the things that these people want isn't really all that bad. Like I come from a background of the progressive left, and I want everybody to have health care. I'd like everybody to have education. I'd like people to be taken care of. I think groups of people can be highly effective. But I long ago gave up thoughts that this government or this approach was going to be able to help achieve those goals.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
so I don't feel like my goals have terribly changed. I still want my minnows to be fed. Like I spent some of my time and money trying to keep some moms to be able to feed their kids and to not get evicted. And that has been honestly some of the most meaningful things that I've done on here. Because I still hold very progressive values, but in terms of just getting it done, I look at like my when I worked in sales for a long time, and my one of my mentors in sales used to talk about just look at the scoreboard as you're trying to figure out what program you should use or why you should do one thing or another. Just go look at the scoreboard, and to me, the scoreboard looks something like 8 people in the world have as much wealth as 3 billion. And I don't personally, I'm not willing to believe that those people are so much higher in value that they are somehow 10 to the ninth or whatever that number is more valuable than any other individual. To me, I heard a quote of you can't make $1 billion a year, but you can certainly steal $1 billion a year. And so I look at the scoreboard and say, it is my opinion and fear and current thought that world economics are not broken. They are working perfectly. It just happens to be that it creates a totally shit distribution and is totally bad as well.
I
Yeah.
think it's working exactly how they intended it to work.
So what are you guys working on in terms of um, how do you unfuck this thing? Like, what's the plan? Is there a unified plan? Is it just information? Is it just informing yourself and spreading that? Are there active like plans in the community to do something? What even would you do? How do you change giant behemoth that steals wealth from everything on the planet?
I think in a way a lot of it is about spreading information, but also I think everyone can kind of do their own little things to help with that. So I think information sharing is a really big thing. Um,
Yeah.
So information sharing. I mean, I agree with that. What you guys might not know is, you're sitting in this Peace, Abundance, and Liberty Network Discord room. We are being broadcast right now onto Twitch. We're looking to add other streams to that. And literally on my email platform today, I got the lease to go build a studio, like a film studio, so that I can go spread more content. So and that content would definitely have the message of peace, abundance, and liberty. And those three words are not accidents. When I kind of assessed what's wrong with the world, I said we're constantly at war, and I wish we weren't killing people in third world countries to take their resources. So one of the biggest needs I thought was peace. I thought that we have this giant scarcity mindset, and everybody's impoverished nearly everywhere, and that's manufactured by the banking system. So I thought the reverse of that would be abundance, and that sounds much better than what we have now. And there's a giant spy ring that literally tracks every single movement of everything that we do, and that I just value personal liberty more. And so I'd like for those values to be spread, for information to be spread, for news stories that are controversial to be spread, largely so that we can have a better world, which is in direct opposition to the world we have now. So that's a long-winded answer to say, oh, your mission's awesome. I'm in full agreement. That sounds pretty spectacular.
Well, I liked a lot of what I heard when I listened last night to your show. And I think really it seems like a lot of people in the Unfuckers group, they all have like their different ways that they're trying to address it. Like some people are actually doing alternative health healing things for people. Other people are kind of in the business realm doing what they can to make a difference. It's all, everyone is very, very different.
yeah.
So, like, the reason why I turned away from doing like commercial art because I didn't want to manipulate people, and for health reasons had to get into permaculture. So I think the permaculture thing is a big movement right now. So that's like my way of trying to help create more food and abundance and an abundance mindset for people, to try to encourage them to understand that they can grow food just about anywhere. Now, obviously, there's some places where that won't work right now, but you get the gist. I think.
On my very short list of other things to do once I get a studio running, um, one of the things that I would love. Do you both know what aquaponics is? Have you heard of that?
Yes.
Sort of.
So aqua means it's aquaculture, which is growing of fish. Ponics is from hydroponics, which is growing vegetables without soil. It creates a really good system where you put fish food in, the fish will drink the water and eat the food. They'll poop and pee in the water. Bacteria will break it down into wonderful nutrients for the plants. The plants will absorb that water because you spray it into the hydroponic rocks or grow media. You get these extremely healthy and absolutely delicious plants that grow out of that. And there's no, you don't need like the same level of pesticides. You don't need herbicides because it's a controlled area. And there's a small greenhouse that's less than a mile away from my house. So on my never-ending list of projects that I'd like to build, it's actually not that big. I want a video studio, and I'd like some aquaponics. You're both talking my language. These are the things that let's produce, not consume. Let's create healthy food, not this kind of fake food shit. And I don't know. Let's have some media that expresses values of normal people, not the shit that bankers want us thinking about.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Well, I agree with you. All right, let me add Andrea in here too. Here's another one of them. So Andrea, I just dragged you onto the show as well. Can you say hello for us?
Hello, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great. Thank you for being here. It's nice to meet another person. Can you answer the same questions for me? Who are you? Give me a little bit about your background, and then tell me what is an unfucker to you, and what are you personally trying to unfuck?
I apologize. I'm not sure if it's on my end or what. Cutting out a bit, but I think you were asking for me to basically introduce myself.
Yep.
Okay. I'm Andrea. I am brand new to Steem, and it's been pretty awesome. I'm up in Canada. Now, the snow Mexicans. I've been a long time conspiracy theorist. I've gone down so many rabbit holes in terms of the woo woo, and I've dragged my family into it. So both my parents and my brother are all, we sit, at the dinner table and talk about chemtrails and government corruption and all of that fun stuff. Yeah, so I found Danny's group, the Unfuckers. I've been watching their When People Roundtable shows for just a little over 2 years now. And shortly after I found them, Danny put out an invite saying, "Hey, I have this awesome group on Facebook. Y'all should join." And the rest was history. And it's just been one awesome rabbit hole after another. And yeah, it's just been kind of mind blowing.
I had a hard time believing in geoengineering or anything like that for a long while. And one day I was in New Jersey on the Jersey Shore with my aunt, who was a baby boomer and very much a statist. And we were looking up at the sky, and there were right angle clouds. The clouds were literally forming sharp 90-degree angles. And at that moment, uh, whether I don't know to what extent something like chemtrails has other aspects to them than like just local weather control or cloud seeding or changing how it rains or something, or what amount of light comes through the clouds, or whether it's atmospheric energy weapons, or I don't know the extent of what that is. But the day that I saw a 90-degree cloud form in front of my very eyes, I just couldn't suspend disbelief any longer. I personally am convinced that some kind of weather manipulation or geoengineering is happening in our skies. I don't know how much further it goes than that, but I am absolutely convinced that the things that are getting sprayed behind airplanes are changing weather patterns.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I'm up in Canada, and today, or I think it was yesterday, it was plus 8 degrees Celsius, and tonight it's dropping down to minus 20 with the wind chill. And it's been like that all through December and January. Everything from rain, or even we had freezing rain the other day, and it was minus 14. Sorry, this is Celsius, this is metric. I'm a metric girl. But I mean, that stuff doesn't usually happen. Usually it's, a couple of degrees below freezing and you get a little bit of freezing rain. That's pretty normal. But when I'm finding more and more, people are starting to notice this, and it's so awesome to be able to go out and, you're in line at the grocery store, and I'd be like, wow, that cauliflower is really expensive. And then you get down the rabbit hole of, yeah, that's because gas prices are high. Why are gas prices high? And you go on to the whole spiel, and yeah, next thing you know, your friend's on Facebook and they're an unfucker too.
So, do the three of you know each other? Like, is this the first time that the three of you have been in a room conversing with one another?
Yeah,
Yes,
I think so.
Have you at least conversed in the Unfuckers group before, even if just by chat or something?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But okay, well, I'm glad that I can sort of unite the clans a little bit here, if I do nothing other than that. So what are you guys hoping to accomplish on Steem? I mean, I just brought 30 people over here. Um, I created the accounts. I helped do that. What do you see as the sort of operating mission of being an unfucker, but particularly what does that have to do with Steem?
I could say something.
Yeah, Aaron, go for it.
I think the information sharing, that's a huge platform for that, obviously. And then in the financial aspect of it, if there's people that are trying to make a difference and they don't have a lot of spare money and they get on that website and then, they can make money doing that, I think that it just helps everybody and then they're liable to reinvest in things that matter.
Zoe?
Yeah, I agree with that a lot. I think a lot of people that are trying to spread information, probably spend a lot of their time researching and maybe don't have as much money as people who are like mainstream in the matrix. So I think that's a really big deal. My thing with it, what I'm doing is in my part on Fuck the World, I have a business called Wondrous Creations, and so I mainly do like animal activism because I feel like what men have, not just men, but man, have done to the animal world is terrible. So my thing is to spread awareness for that, and I plan to use Steem it for that a lot.
Andrea?
I'm just kind of riding the waves right now. I didn't even know this existed 2 days ago, so this is pretty awesome. I know a lot of people live in this world where money is everything. And money is good for a lot of things, but I don't place a whole lot of value on it. I do find it's really cool that it kind of ties in. It's like it's more than just a like on Facebook. It's like somebody actually read it, and they gave you that little almost like a check of approval that equivalates to whatever in Steem. And it's really interesting. Like some of the stuff, this is just blows Facebook out of the water. I don't even know what to think of it. I'm just mind blown.
So all three of you have been on Facebook for quite a time, and you just mentioned that it feels different here. What feels different just in the last 2 days of being here that you didn't experience on Facebook?
The bot posting. There's no bot posting. It's all real content from real people, or so I've seen so far, anyways.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
No, Aaron, go for it.
The advertisements is what I was going to say.
Zoe?
Yeah, advertisements too, and I also feel like what Andrea said, that a lot of the people that are on there aren't just on there to pass time, that they're actually on there because they really want to be on there and they want to share information with each other.
All right. So one of my favorite parts of this place is the censorship resistance. So when I was on Facebook, I've gone through literally 5 different accounts on Facebook. I'd get up to about 2,000 followers, and then Facebook would shadow ban me. They'd say at any I'd get up to 2,000, and then almost within a heartbeat of that, I would have to go identify my friends. And I was like wearing an anonymous face mask as my profile. I would get a lot of other people doing the same thing, and Facebook would make you identify your friends, and my friends would like tag themselves in pictures of like in memes where it's obviously not them, and Facebook was using that as a way to force you to identify people, and I think it was very intentional as a way that they could shadow ban activists that were using fake profiles, and that was purposeful. So one of the things that's been amazing to me is that I have 13,000 followers. Like it was impossible for me to get that on Facebook, and it's happened in about a year here. That's extraordinary to me. That like nobody's kicked me off yet. If anything, they seem happy I'm here. Like that, it's just been a mind blowing experience from that perspective. Have any of you been kicked off of other social media or lost financial rewards on YouTube, or have any of you had negative experiences working with sort of centralized platforms?
I've had, sorry. I've had a bunch of my like comments that I've posted and stuff about, things that I believe in just trying to share information. I've had a lot of them deleted and removed and flagged and reported, which I think isn't very good.
I was kicked off or locked out of Facebook just like 2 days ago. So
What did you get locked out for, Aaron?
they said that sharing information about cancer statistics was spam.
Whoa.
I had the same thing with vaccines. I had a bunch of my posts about vaccines and stuff, anti-vaccine stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got, I mean, people, this audience is probably pretty open to this, but you know, when I told my dad that like, hey, when I'm on Facebook and I post something that is controversial, like they fake news it. It's not, you know, to me, if fake news is this like title that's meant to go stop the discussion from happening. If something was actually fake news, you would investigate it, show that it's total bullshit, and explain in detail why it's bullshit, and then move on with your life.
Exactly.
But that's not what happens. They dismiss the content, they ban you, they shut down your reach, they shut down your account. This is not about, hey, let's get to the bottom of this. It's, hey, let's cover this shit up.
Mm-hmm.
That was my experience and part of why I love being on Steem. Hopefully you're going to find some similar enjoyment here as well.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's control what other people see. Yeah, that's how I felt about Facebook.
Will you three do me a favor and link your profile? If you don't know how to do it, mine would be www.steemit.com/@agrode. Since you're not all using your Steemit profile, can you do me a favor and in chat just type in your usernames so that people would know how to follow you, know how to find you, know how to be your buddy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Looking for two more. Zoe and Aaron. There's Zoe. Zoe, do me a favor and put an @ sign in front of that.
Okay.
You can just hit
Sorry.
the up, put the up arrow. And in fact, it's even better if you do the whole, if you do the link like that, like Hubby
Okay.
just
There we
did
go.
for you.
Okay.
Because then it's it's a hyperlink that goes to your profile, and if people want to follow you, you can do that too. And then I think I'm missing one from Aaron. And there we go.
She got it.
Cubby, thank you for doing that, Cubby. Thank you, Team Steem, for contributing as well. You guys are awesome.
Team Pink 100%. She says that you should be wearing pink.
I guess I don't have any pink on me. All right, so let's see, it's 11 o'clock, so that's technically the end of my show, but I'm going to keep going on. What I want to give everybody here just a chance to just say, tell me something you're excited about, tell me something you want me to know, tell me why I should follow your blog. Just give me some kind of outro of what we can expect or what you're looking forward to. I don't know. It's pretty open-ended. Just give me some closing thoughts, because next up I want to do, we got to play dice. So I'm going to play some Freebird and we'll do some dice for everybody can get a chance to win some Steem. And then I guess if there's people that want to come on, I think I saw Cubby in the waiting room earlier, but if there are anybody else that wants to come on the show, I want to make sure that they have an opportunity to do that after we play some dice. So closing thoughts, ladies.
Andrew.
All right. I love to delve more into the metaphysical, spiritual stuff. Not so much religious stuff, but the energetics of where we are, where we're going, some of my visions, that kind of stuff. So right now I'm just doing the fluffy posts, like the about me posts. But I mean, that's generally where I'd like to be heading, because that's like I do have I don't call it a fan page, but a page on Facebook where I do my healing work and that kind of stuff. So that's where I'd like to go with that.
Okay. Aaron?
I have kind of two things that I deal with a lot, and that would be like expressing my unusual observations through my artwork, which I will post about for sure and Steam it, and also the permaculture. As I go, I kind of make a fool out of myself. So as I learn things, I'll share them.
That sounds
And
awesome.
that's Apple Snitch Farms. If you see the logo, that might help you remember.
Put the logo in chat, please, so that everybody can see what that'll look like, and we can, I don't know, just have it on our radar. And then lastly, Zoe.
Yeah, okay, so I want to have all sorts of stuff on my account, like, the weird stuff that I look into that I'll share that people will probably appreciate on there. But also, I do like a lot of photography stuff and like stuff that I think that I hope will uplift people and kind of inspire them to do their own things, along with the kind of animal activism kind of thing.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank all three of you for coming on to the show. It's great to meet some unfuckers. I will welcome others as you interact with people. If you've had a good experience here, please spread the word. I am trying to coordinate with Danny so that either I go on her show or she comes on mine. I've been thinking about doing an orientation again just to go get people up to speed. I did like a 20-minute video, but um, I don't know. I'm gonna be watching for you folks, and if you guys have some posts that you're really proud of, mostly while you're minnows, you should be. Don't write super long essays. There's not enough people that will read them, but as you get a little bigger, that can happen. But if you guys get like a couple posts that you're super proud of, or that you think are representative of you or what you're working on, then by all means, as you post them, DM them to me because I'm interested in helping the unfuckers get a nice start here, and I'm happy to share the audience that I built over the last year and a half to help you guys get started and build a community here.
Well, I appreciate it. You've helped us a lot.
Oh, yeah, that is so awesome. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. All right, ladies, I'm gonna bring you off the air. You can maybe just go back on your own or move to the MSPW radio room, or I can move you there. But next up, I'm gonna pause the recording, and we're gonna go play Dice Bitches. Dice Bitches is a game where the way that it works is I'm gonna put a command into chat, and the command is this T dice space 10d10, and I'm gonna put that in there, and then the computer's gonna roll, and if you tie my roll or beat it, you get to move on to the next round. And after the next round, instead of being 10d10, it's going to be 9d9, and then lower than that, it'll be 8d8, and so on. It is going to get kind of crazy in here because we have a fair number of people, so try to just wait a beat before you go putting the next roll in there. So please, we're going to go do this. We're going to do it to Freebird because it takes a little while. And I'm totally transparent that this game is completely stacked. I win this thing all the freaking time. It is not a fair game. And for that reason, we're going to play once. And if I win, we're going to play again. If I win the first time, we'll just start over. If I win the second time, then I'm going to send the money to msp-waves, the account for that. So that's what we're going to go do. We're going to play. So I'm going to do the command, then you do the command. If you beat or tie, then you can move on to the next roll. Your name is not going to be in the roll, so please just make sure that you check in the order of who just posted, because that's what's going to happen. So let me go. I'm going to stop this here recording.